on. What up? What up? What up? Welcome to another episode of the Sports PSP podcast. Hope everyone is enjoying a fantastic and wonderful evening. I am your host, Sports PSP. Hope everyone is enjoying a beautiful Friday. Enjoy the rest of the summer, everyone. Enjoy whether you're at the water park, barbecue, whatever the case may be. Please enjoy your time with friends, family, loved ones, whatever the case may be, man. But I got the panel with me, of course. BRF Sports in the building, man. Just coming off a wonderful vacation from Florida. How you doing, brother?
Man, I got to tell you, man, life is life and pretty good at the moment. Yeah, like you told the people, man. Yeah, I went to visited it's basically the Orlando areas, Davenport, Kissimmee. Went down there for a few days, did some sightseeing, some shopping, some a little eating here and there. Had a really good time. It was because we went to Kissimmee for Christmas, but this trip wasn't as big. But still, we had fun. Just working and still trying to keep up with the sports world. I'm saying, I put out a little content while I was on the vacation. So, still showing the dedication. Hopefully why that drew a lot of the fans to me. So, but yeah, I cannot complain. And, sitting there watching SmackDown, and I have La Primera, Stephanie Vaquera on my TV screen. So, I can't complain. Life is good. Life is good.
Hey, man, you gotta enjoy life to the best you possibly can, man. You gotta enjoy it. You gotta enjoy it. You gotta enjoy it. And of course, we cannot do the Sports PSP podcast without Columbus, Georgia's own, the four-time college degree champion, military man, Daiquiri and Pole Boys. Count on him come football season for Daiquiri and Pole Boys. But just a brilliant, sophisticated, knowledgeable brother, the Al Roker of journalism. If you want to know more about the WNBA, please go contact this brother. Does a great job covering the WNBA, and he's definitely going to be watching the WNBA All-Star game this weekend. Always a pleasure. The Al Roker of journalism, the young Charles Barkley, as I call him, Atlanta Falcons #1 fan, other than BRF Sports, undisputed world champ. How you doing, brother?
I'm good.
Oh, and real quick, throwing in there, fellow GOG gentleman of Georgia, my brother from another mother.
Yes, indeed. Apollo Creed didn't get a better introduction than that in Rocket too, bro. Apollo Creed didn't get a better introduction than that. Hey, thank you as usual, man. I'm just bouncing around, rearranging my house, stuff like that. As y'all can see in the background, I know ain't no pictures in the background and no neon lights like I planned it, but I'm trying some different things here. But man, always a privilege, a pleasure, and an honor to be here, man. On here with PSP, man. Been covering the W. As we all know, Sabria Ionescu just won the 3-point contest, and Natasha Cloud, she just won the skills challenge. So the All-Star weekend belongs to New York so far. So shout out to the New York Liberty and the W, man. So let's keep bigging these young ladies up so they can eventually get the money that they deserve, man. Let's go ahead. Let's keep the ratings up. Let's keep the content up for the WNBA so they can get their money, man. That's what we want to see. We want to see these young women get paid. That's why they play. They want them to get paid, not just to entertain us. We want them to get paid so they can take care of their families. They can live the life of luxury and live the life like their male counterparts. That's what we want.
Shout out and always, man. And shout out to Dwayne Coleman. Sup? Shout out to the Pitch Grid Pod. Go check them out. My brothers are live. Also, go check out the Stay Tuned Live podcast. Please go check out the Stay Tuned Live podcast every Tuesday night. Shout out to our guys, Willie, Jay Bailey, Czar, Rashad, Dennis, the crew. The list goes on and on, man. Good fellas, man. But fellas, you're almost that close to the football season, the pigskin season. ESPN, they released a list, a top 10 QBs executive list. Now, no surprise, number 1 is Patrick Mahomes. Number 2 is Josh Allen. 3 is Joe Burrow. 4 is Lamar Jackson. But however, 5th, my guy, Jaden Daniels of the Washington Commanders. 6th, you got Matthew Stafford. 7th, Justin Herbert. 8th, Jared Goff. 9th, Jalen Hurts. 10th, Baker Mayfield. And honorable mentions are CJ Stroud and Jordan Love. I will say this. I've said before about Jalen Hurts. I think he's top 10. Sorry, champ. I'll say it again, man. He's top 10. Do I think he's top 5? No. But I do think he's a good enough quarterback that you can build around and win with. Jaden Daniels at top 5. Look, I understand. And we had this conversation with our guy Thomas. Shout out to the On the Pod podcast. He asked the question, Russell Wilson or Jaden Daniels. I went with Russell Wilson based on longevity. You and Thomas went with Jaden Daniels because of the logic. When you think the Washington Commanders, you think of Jaden Daniels. Because without Jaden Daniels, where would Washington be? Russell Wilson, on the other hand, you think of the Legion of Boom defense. You think of Pete Carroll. You think of beast mode. And then you think of Russell Wilson. Do I think Jaden Daniels is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts? Yes. Would I put him top 5 yet? Not there yet. I still need to see a little bit more. The shocker to me, CJ Stroud is not even in that top 10 list. I understand he had a down year last season. I understand he regressed last year. After all, he was coming off an excellent rookie season before Jaden Daniels. We had conversations about CJ Stroud having arguably the best rookie season. One point, CJ Stroud was in the conversation for the league MVP. But Patrick Mahomes, no surprise, number 1. No problem with Josh Allen, number 2. Burrow at 3, because even though the Bengals missed the playoffs, you look at Burrow, the numbers that he put up that season. Lamar Jackson, shout out to Todd Monken, your Georgia Bulldogs, your former Georgia Bulldogs offensive coordinator, BRF and champ, because you look at the last 2 seasons with what he has done with Lamar Jackson. I mean, Greg Roman did a great job with Lamar in his second year, but Todd Monken is taking it to a different level. And he doesn't have a number 1 like a Joe Burrow has. Like, he has Zay Flowers as his best target. And Zay Flowers is a good wide receiver, but he's not like a Jamar Chase. But to me, Jaden Daniels, I thought Jaden Daniels at top 5. Not there yet. He's definitely top 10. I have him somewhere around that 6, 7-ish range. I got no problem with Jalen Hurts in the top 10. I don't think he's top 5 because I think there are other things you factor with the Philadelphia Eagles. BRF, I'm going to let you go first. Do you have a problem with this list?
If you're looking at consistency of play and we're going off of the 2024 season, you got the 10 right now. You got the 10 names correct. I think you got the right 10. As far as order, me personally, if we're talking about order, the top 4, the top 4 is right in my opinion. I mean, if you got Lamar 3, I ain't got no beef with it. I personally think Joe Burrow's third best quarterback in the league. I think they got the top 4 right. Matthew Stafford's my 5. I don't care what anybody says. Matthew Stafford's my 5. Matthew Stafford to me is still top 5 quarterback in the league. I mean, just even at his age, his level of consistency, he's still got that arm strength. His accuracy is just like, it's almost like grown. It's almost like him becoming a veteran and just understanding the game and the IQ. It's just like everything's gone up, and he's like he's even like a better for me. He's even like a better passer than he was at Detroit in terms of just sheer being able to just nail every throw. And he's always been able to nail every throw. But I think it's you know how they say there's levels to this, and I think it's at another level with his accuracy being in LA. So for me, Matthew Stafford's my 5. 6. Let's see. I would probably go. Then I'd probably go. I mean, what can you say about Jaden Daniels, man? I think Jaden. I will put Jaden Daniels at 6. I got no problem with him at 6. Probably go Justin Herbert. Probably go Herbert 7. I would go. I'd go Herbert 7, and then I would probably go. I would. You got Hurts, you got Goff, you got Mayfield.
Baker's definitely top 10. Just look at the
I think Baker's right at 10. I would put Hurts in front of Goff though.
That's
I would
fair.
put Hurts in front of. I put Hurts in front of Goff. I mean, just from a can I trust you in big moments, regardless of who's on your roster? Can I trust you to make a play in a big time situation? Jalen Hurts. I'm putting Jalen. I mean, in terms of from a pressure standpoint, I'm putting Jalen Hurts over Jared Goff from that standpoint. Baker. The only reason why I have him at 10, I haven't seen it enough from him in big time moments yet. We've gotten glimpses of it, particularly that game where they when he was with the Cleveland Browns still, and they went up to Pittsburgh and they ran Pittsburgh out their own building. I mean, a lot of that was due to the defense, but Baker was still making good throws. He was still making big plays in that game. But yeah, I think they got the 10 names correct. But yeah, like I said, I do a little reshuffling. Like I said, I would go Mahomes 1, Allen 2, Burrow 3, Lamar 4. I would probably go Stafford 5. I would go JD 6. I go Herbert 7. I go Hurts 8, Goff 9, and Baker Mayfield 10.
I ain't got no problem with that. Talk to me, champ.
I don't have a problem with Jaden Daniels being at number 5. No problem. The thing is this. Nobody expected them, or the Washington Commanders to do anything this year. He was the sole reason that they were winning. Now, Scared Terry, you put the running backs by committee. They did a lot in the scheme, Cliff Kingsbury. But when you really put things into perspective, Jaden Daniels was the focal point of that team. He was the focal point of that team. He was the game breaker that they need. He could change it around in a second. We talk about CJ Stroud's year. I mean, you could argue that Jaden Daniels had an even better year. Made it all the way to the NFC Championship. In the division with the Philadelphia Eagles, had it not been for a lot of turnovers and a lot of mental mistakes that they had made in the NFC Championship, they would have stood a better chance. But turnovers on kickoff, turnovers on special teams, turnovers everywhere, and they was not able to stand a chance, especially that Philadelphia.
And they couldn't stop Saquon. And I told you when Saquon scored that first touchdown on that first drive, I knew that was a ball game.
Yeah, I thought you were just talking, but he said he inboxed me that day. He said, "Champ, this over." I'm like, no, man, because I wanted his Commanders to win, man. But I'm like, no, it ain't, man. Let's give it some time. But no, it was over.
Did I think the Commanders had any chance when they put their memorabilia on the Rocky statue, which we all know that's a curse?
Yeah, that's a curse. No, you did not. You said no. And he's like, yeah, but I have no problem with I have a problem with the top 3. We got to stop. Look, I love Joe Burrow. Let's keep it all the way a buck. That Super Bowl appearance that he made and that victory that he had over Patrick Mahomes is becoming a distant memory. It's becoming a distant memory. And I'm just going to be real. The Bengals are not doing him any favors because they haven't signed Stewart and they haven't signed Hendricks. That defense, they might well just go out there and put the factory workers on the defensive side of the ball. They keep this up. So the thing is, he hasn't done a lot since that time. I know that people are going to say, well, he has his offensive onslaught. But the thing is, do you really want to become the modern day version of Dan Fouts? Because that's where he's headed at this point. A quarterback that can put up a lot of numbers, but guess what? You're not going to make it too far in the playoff because you don't have no defense. And that victory that he scored over Patrick Mahomes is becoming a distant memory. I'm putting Josh Allen at number 2. I'm putting Lamar Jackson at 3. I'm putting Lamar at number 3. then Joe Burrow. Lamar's a 2-time MVP. Had one. That's one of the greatest seasons since Randall Cunningham that did not win an MVP. That's one of the greatest dual threat quarterback seasons since Randall Cunningham that did not win the MVP. Remember in 1990, Randall Cunningham remember we talked about that on our show, BRF, the biggest injustice of MVPs. Remember, Randall had 3,000 yards, had 3,006 yards, 3,600 yards passing. He had like 36 touchdowns to like 9 interceptions, then ran for like 900 yards. And he didn't win because of, my GOAT, Joe Montana. But that's Joe Montana, but yeah, that was one of the biggest injustices in the league history.
Bigger than Breeze in 2011?
And yeah, but I'm talking about dual threat quarterback.
Okay.
Dual threat.
No, I'm just talking about quarterback in general, champ.
But you're absolutely right. People can argue me down all day. And this is coming from a Falcons fan. That year, Drew Brees, 13-3, and led the league in every statistical category with a bottom 5 defense. He should have won that MVP that year over Rodgers. I don't care what anybody says. I'll argue that till cows come home. But I have to put Lamar at 3. I know he's going to bring me at least to the playoffs every single year. I don't have to worry about getting off to these slow starts in the season. He's the modern day version of Peyton Manning. The only difference is he's a dual threat quarterback and Peyton wasn't. He's going to give you great regular seasons. The thing is, can you name me one season, as far as regular seasons goes, that can top, out of Joe Burrow, that can top any of Lamar Jackson's regular seasons?
Patrick Mahomes' 2018 season when he won the MVP, and Mahomes when he won the second Super Bowl against the Eagles. That was when Mahomes threw for.
No, I'm talking about Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow.
I keep it above. I keep it above. All right. As far as Joe Burrow go, when you look at just his year last year, you can't fault him for the defense. He's probably if the Cincinnati Bengals make the playoffs with that defense, Joe Burrow is probably winning the MVP.
Again.
Not to mention,
so you can't fault him for that.
Not to mention, champ, we talked about Mike Brown, how cheap he is as an owner.
Yeah,
we know that.
Statistically, is there any season that you can put Joe Burrow against Lamar Jackson and say, yeah? No. There's not that one season that statistically you could put Joe Burrow stats against Lamar Jackson's and say he should have won the MVP. Even last year, one of his best seasons. If he would have made the playoff, people say he would have won the MVP. Are we sure about that?
Oh, I'm 1,000% sure. With that defense, I'm 1,000% sure. Yeah, bro. Cincinnati, that defense they get to the playoffs. Come on, champ.
Had they made the playoff, champ, they would have. He would.
Had they made the playoffs, he's winning. He's winning MVP. Had they made the playoffs, he's winning it. Yes, he is.
You had a QB that threw for over 4,000 yards and had over 900 yards. And then you had the most valuable player, which I don't blame them for having Josh Allen as the most valuable player. I don't have them for that because if you look at it, he didn't have a true number one receiver. He had a bunch of rookies going around. He didn't have that offensive onslaught. So I don't blame them for giving Josh Allen.
Not to mention he cut back on the turnovers because that was an issue that Josh Allen had since he came out of the draft. Since he came out of the draft, he led the NFL in turnovers. And you also mentioned, champ, hey, we got to be consistent because the previous year, Lamar Jackson won the MVP in 2023, and then he didn't have the eye-popping numbers like Dak Prescott or Tua had. But if you take him out of the equation, where would Baltimore be? Just like with Buffalo. I had Josh Allen win the MVP. You were telling me MV3 for Lamar Jackson because first to throw for 4,000, rush for 900, 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. You look at those numbers, that's Aaron Rodgers-esque numbers. And he did it with Todd Monken as the offensive coordinator. But, champ, I do agree with BRF from the standpoint, if Burrow had at least an ounce of a good enough defense, he definitely would have had more of a chance to win the MVP, champ. He would have, I'm not saying he would have won it, but he would have had more of a chance, though, to win the MVP. That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying he wins it because I look at it like this. He runs the table and gets the Cincinnati Bengals to the playoffs running the table. How did and I don't have the number and I can't check the number, so I don't have his numbers from last year, so I can't really pull up what he did.
I'll look it up for you.
Yeah, but I'm just saying he runs the table, and even though they lost both games against the Ravens, Joe Burrow torched them both games. Both games. It was the defense's fault they lost.
If you
They
look at
run the
Burrow's,
table. Yeah, because I know you're going to pull the stats up.
4,918 yards, led the NFL in passing yards and passing touchdowns. He threw 43 touchdowns to only 9 interceptions with a QBR on a scale of 0 to 100, 74.7, which is third in the NFL in QBR.
He runs the table. He's winning that award. Them numbers are insane.
And plus, champ, to add on to Joe Burrow, you have made the argument. You, of all people, you said it before, quarterback cannot throw behind his back. Even though champ with the glasses, even though he looks like the bigger version of rest of his soul, the late, great Johnny Cochran, you have been a supporter for offensive linemen.
Yes, I have.
Quarterback cannot throw behind his back.
Don't say the line right there. Don't say the line. Don't say the line. Don't say the line. Don't say the line. Don't say the line.
I'm not going to say the line. I'm not going to say the line. But even if I say it, I mean, I am kind of speaking the truth.
If it don't fit, you must have quit. Oh, God.
But that being said, Chip, you have made the argument. Hell, if I'm Joe Burrow and if I don't get, and if with the offensive line, that's been an issue. And if they don't find a way to take care of my two targets, hell, do I retire, leave Cincinnati, and somewhere else someone's going to pay me? Because you've made that argument for Joe Burrow. That's what you've endorsed Joe Burrow to do if they didn't re-sign both T. Higgins and Jamar Chase.
Yes, I did, and I have. But the thing is, like I stated, I believe that if I'm going to have my franchise where I want it to be, I'm taking Lamar over Joe. And like I stated, they've gotten off to a lot of slow starts with him starting at the helm. They've gotten off to a lot of slow starts.
That is true.
You don't get off to those slow starts.
That.
You don't get off to those slow starts, especially in a blood and guts division like the AFC North, and expect to win anything. Even when they made it to the Super Bowl, got off to a very, very slow start. But the thing is, you have to look at who is statistically winning, and guess what? You have to look at who that dual threat that Lamar has, and the fact that he's been winning MVPs. And like I said, people can knock him all they want to, but the thing is, he's went to an AFC championship. He's went there, and quiet as it's kept, nobody outside of Jalen Hurts has beaten Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Nobody has beaten Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl on the biggest stage. So the thing is, I'm taking Lamar. I don't mind Josh Allen being at number 2, because if you really want me to be honest with you, I've had a lot of criticism for the Buffalo Bills franchise. I had a lot of criticism. I think they're not doing a good job about James Cook. I think he had a lot of, no disrespect to his wide receiver core, I don't think he had an onslaught I don't think they prepared for when Stephon Diggs left outside of the draft. I don't think
not to mention Sean McDermott. He was almost on the hot seat.
Yes, indeed. So with that being said, I don't mind Josh Allen being at number 2 right behind. Because if you take Josh Allen off their team right now with the roster that they have, it's pretty much, they might win a game. So I don't have no problem with him being the second best quarterback in the league, according to executive. But the third best has to be Lamar. Then I put Joe there. And then Jaden Daniels, like I said, he was the focal point of that team. The minute you think about the Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels. He was the focal point of that team. And like I stated, I mean, we was getting on to Cliff Kingsbury, me and you both, PSP, about the fast starts that they would have in Arizona, and then they would slow down doing
Did I
the
not?
course of
Yeah,
the next season.
I told you, and did I not also say I also at one point I wanted Cliff Kingsbury gone because at some point we would start to see him not make those second half adjustments. But Cliff Kingsbury, to his credit, he proved me wrong. The problem with Washington, why they lost that game against Philadelphia in the NFC Championship game, one, they were outmatched. Philly was just a better team from top to bottom. If Washington had any chance, was because of Jaden Daniels.
Yes.
I've told you before about our defense. I'm going to be the antithesis of you, Chan, because you defend the offensive line. I'm going to be when it comes to the defensive line, because I kept trying to tell you about Montez Sweat. Now, I had no problem moving on from Chase Young because of the durability problems, but I told you how valuable Montez Sweat was. And and mind you, Ron Payne did not play in that NFC Championship game.
No, indeed
And
not.
I know you wanted to get your hands on Deron Payne as well. You wanted your Atlanta Falcons to sign him in free agency. I have no. If you want to tell me Jaden Daniels, given the circumstances, what he had to deal with Washington, making me think more and more or less about Daniel Snyder, because we all know how atrocious he was as an owner. Hey, I got no problem with that. And Dan Quinn has done a terrific job as the head coach for Washington, but he still has the same issue, just like with Dallas. He can't find a way to stop the run. Washington was 30th in the NFL in stopping the run last year. And we'll get into Washington just a little bit. But like I said, I would pick him over Jaden Daniels. Not because I'm a Washington fan and not because Jalen Hurts plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. If I'm looking at the eye test, Jaden Daniels, in my opinion, is a better passer. He has a better arm. I think he's a better runner, more dynamic runner. Now, if you're talking about someone who's more spectacular, faster, I get the edge to Jaden Daniels. Now, if you want someone who could run over people, I get that edge to Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts is at best top 10. Baker, I ain't got no problem with Baker at top 10. Because if you look at the past 2 seasons with Baker Mayfield, he's right now clearly. Yes, right now, he is the best quarterback in the NFC South. Hopefully, Michael Penix Jr. will have a lot to say heading into 2025. But I got no problem with Stafford there. Stafford, to BRF's point, definitely has a case for a top 5. Justin Herbert, again, it all comes back to that playoff game against the Houston Texans. It's not the fact that you lost, how you looked while you lost. And that his performance, inexcusable. Now, Champ mentioned the operative term, grace. This is the first year with Jim Harbaugh. We know how valuable, we know how much Justin Herbert means to the Chargers organization. But if he continuously has lackluster performances in the playoffs, we're going to have more and more conversations about, is he an elite quarterback? I think he's an elite talent, no doubt about it. 6'6", 230, 240, has mobility, strong arm other than Allen. I think Justin Herbert has the strongest arm in the NFL other than Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. But the first playoff game, we gave him a pass, Champ, because of Brandon Staley, the head coach. We cannot give him a pass in that one.
No, we can't. And he has, when you talk about quarterbacks who has a lot to prove, I'll put him and Kyler at the top of that list. I put him and Kyler at the top of that list.
Because, I like that. Agree.
Because when you think about Kyler, remember, let's piggyback. Let's go back to what we talked about earlier with Cliff Kingsbury. The verdict was out on him. They're going to go to a fast start, and then they're going to falter in the late season because of Cliff Kingsbury. Well, now that he has a cooperative quarterback in Jaden Daniels, you saw that didn't happen. You know, it wasn't that real jump off a cliff performance like you saw in Arizona. So the verdict is out. Now your offensive coordinator is doing even better with somebody else at the helm. Like I stated, Jaden Daniels is a hell of a lot more of a cooperative quarterback with Cliff Kingsbury than Kyler was. So I have to say this. There's no two quarterbacks with more to prove this year than Kyler Murray and Justin Herbert. Now, people are going to take the easy way out and say, well, Dak Prescott. The only reason why we're going to say that is because he plays for America's team. That's the only reason why we say that, and we want to throw the Dallas Cowboys. Let's just keep
Not
it
to
all.
mention the contract.
Not to mention that contract. When you get a fat contract like that, of course, people are going to start throwing knives at you. But that's the easy way out. Because the thing is, I don't think that he can beat the Eagles at this point. The Eagles are still the team to beat in the NFC East. And regardless of the move that the Washington Commanders made, I think that Dan Quinn is going to put this defense in a by committee situation, sort of like he did with our Atlanta Falcons that year. I think he's going to put them in a committee type of situation, and these players that he's got is going to be able to make more plays. So I think that division is becoming a blood and guts division. It's becoming slowly but surely. And you got to take into account the situation that the Giants are in at this point. You know, they got some of the best pass rushers money can buy. So you got to think about how their defense is going to be. You got to think about what Jackson Dart can do and what the offense can do now that they're fully healthy at this point. So that's a true blood and guts division at this point in time. But I think there's no two quarterbacks with more to prove than Justin Herbert and Kyler Murray.
I agree, especially considering the fact that Kyler, just like Justin Herbert, was drafted. Kyler with the #1 overall pick. And Kyler Murray, his first 3 years in the NFL, you know, offensive rookie of the year, 2 Pro Bowl appearances. During his third year, the Cardinals went off to that hot start. Had not been for the Cardinals falling apart, you know, Kyler Murray mid-season was the favorite to win the league MVP.
Yes.
And Kyler is a top 10 talent in the NFL. I think Kyler Murray, when he has a big-time year, is definitely in the conversation for a top 10 quarterback, and I'm rooting for him because, of course, he went to my alma mater, one of my schools, the school that I love, Oklahoma. But Arizona, still, unfortunately, it's still that the Rams division to lose at this particular point. And with the Chargers, Herbert, okay, the Chiefs are still there, but the Chiefs, we expect them to regress, considering the fact that they traded Joe Thuney to Chicago. They haven't made any spectacular moves. And then when you look at the Denver Broncos, they found their quarterback in Bo Nix. And Sean Payton has done a good enough job as the head coach. Patrick Surtain is coming off Defensive Player of the Year. I think the executives and the scouts, rightfully so, voted him as the best DB in football. And I can't argue with that.
No.
And then you have to take into account the Raiders. With Tom Brady as the minority owner, Pete Carroll there. They brought in Ashton Genty. Geno, only time will tell. We'll see how that goes. But speaking of, let's continue on to football. The Commanders, they brought in Von Miller. Guys, I'm going to say this. I like the move. Is this going to be the type of move that's going to help the Commanders compete and win for a Super Bowl? No, because I still have concerns about the defense. But I do like the fact that Bobby Wagner is like 35 years old. Von Miller is like 36. Having older veteran players, guys who've won Super Bowls, who can still mentor and help the young team. I am kind of concerned with the offense because Jaden Daniels, as you know, sophomore slump. Deebo Samuels, I mean, early on, we did see him wearing an A.J. Brown jersey, and he was apparently hanging out with Champ at Daiquiris and Po' Boys. But according to his trainer, he's now at 220 pounds with 8% body fat. Terrell Owens said he was about 1 or 2 chicken nuggets away from tipping the scales. But I like this for Von Miller to be with a contender to help out Washington. And look, Washington, they've known for signing older players. They had Bruce Smith, they had Deion Sanders, but let's keep it in context. It was with the previous ownership with Dan Snyder. Don't get me started on how awful he was as an owner. But with the new ownership with Josh Harris, I like it. Now, they still have to address the situation with Terry McLaurin. They got to find a way to pay him, and they better pay him, because if you take away Terry McLaurin out of the equation, Washington's offense is just not going to be what they were. And plus, you're going to put Debo at the number one wide receiver? No. We lost De'Ami Brown to the Jacksonville Jaguars, so we got to find a way to keep Terry McLaurin. So, but speaking of Von Miller, I don't mind the move. I like it. I don't say love it. Pitch grid. He's the best question. Is he worth it? That's the question. Champ, I'm gonna let you go. What are your thoughts about Von Miller to Washington?
I like the move. If there's anything that Dan Quinn can do, is put a pass rusher in position to make plays. He could put he turned Vic Beasley into a damn Pro Bowler.
I'm damn the one defensive player of the
year. Exactly. He turned Vic Beasley into a Pro Bowler. So I think that he's going to put Von Miller in the best position in order to make plays. Now, do I expect a 15-sack year, defensive player of the year candidate? No. But this move was more for depth at the pass rushing position than anything. I believe this is for depth. I need somebody to throw at these quarterbacks. I need somebody to throw at Jalen Hurts. I need somebody to throw at Dak Prescott. So I need somebody to throw at some of these more mobile guys, that being the Jaden Daniels. I don't think they signed him and saying he's going to lose 5 years and we're going to get the 2015 version of Von Miller. I don't think they're doing that at all. I think the depth is what matters here. And I think that Dan Quinn, him being the defensive mind that he is, he's going to put Von Miller and that defense in the best position in order to make plays. So that's why I believe that he's out. Plus, like you stated, PSP, veteran leadership. Veteran leadership. When you got a young team like this on the verge, you need that veteran leadership, especially coming off of an NFC championship appearance in a loaded division like the NFC East. And remember, you had darn near every team in the NFC North that made it. So the NFC, although the AFC have the better quarterback play, the NFC was blood and guts, to be honest with you. They were blood and guts. So you have to account for it. So I like the move. It adds depth, veteran leadership. Plus, like I stated, they're a team on the verge right now. You're trying to build upon that success you had going to an NFC championship for the first time under this new regime. This was the first time under this new regime. First playoff win since the late, great Sean Taylor.
2005.
Yes.
First time we went to the NFC Championship game since 1991.
Yes, the Mark Rippon days. So the main reason why he was brought in was for depth, leadership. And like I stated, don't be surprised. I don't think he's going to have 15, 17 sacks. Don't be surprised he have 8, 9 sack a year. Don't be surprised at that, because I believe
I'll be right back.
He's gonna get put in the best position in order to make plays. And when he's able to make plays, when he's at his best, he is a playmaker. So I think he's going to be put in those positions by Dan Quinn, and Dan Quinn is going to put him in certain situations on the defensive side of the ball and a lot of packages so he can rush the quarterback very, very freely. So I like the move. Plus, I like Von Miller and the glasses, man. Them glasses are smooth. No, I'm being serious. Them glasses.
No. I mean, he got some style. He got some swag.
Yeah, them what we used to call them in the Army, them BCGs. I like them. Yeah, I like those glasses, man. Them glasses are smooth.
I like it too. We gotta wait. We'll wait for BRF to come on, but I think for Washington, look, all I could say is this: the days of moribund being a joke of a franchise, they're over now. Because we finally found our quarterback for the future. We still need to address the defensive line. There's still some areas we need to improve. I would like to see them get a running back because, again, Brian Robinson Jr., he's had durability problems Austin Eckler, durability problems. I would like to see us get another wide receiver in the draft because, again, of age. Terry McLaurin is about to be 30 years old. Debo is probably like 29, 30. So we could definitely need some more young wide receivers in the draft to help us out. But I like it. I like it for Von Miller. But it's going to be hard, champ, because, again, the Eagles are still there. The Rams are still there. The 49ers, I mean, we'll see, but the Commanders, you'll definitely see them in the conversation as far as them competing. Still waiting on BRF, but overall, champ, I think for Washington, if they want to take that next step up, they have to find a way to contain Saquon Barkley. You're not going to slow down Saquon Barkley. But if they're going to find a way to win the division, because, again, they got to deal with Saquon twice a year. They may deal with Cam Scatterboo twice a year. And don't be surprised if Cam Scatterboo, depending on how the Giants utilize him, he's going to be in the discussions for Offensive Rookie of the Year. You've made the comparison. If Christian McCaffrey and Mike Allstott, that's Cam Scatterboo.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for Washington, I think this is a really nice move. This is a really solid move. Is he going to be what he was in 2012, 2015? No. But I do see him having an 8-9 sack season.
Yeah.
I could see, at first I was going to say 5 to 6, but 8-9. Because, again, even though he's 36 years old, he's still in phenomenal shape. So I like it for Washington. But, champ, let's get to basketball. Speaking of a former guy who used to play for my Washington football team, Washington Commanders, RG3. Did you check the news he's been in lately? Did you see him retweeting a post of Angel Reese?
Yeah, he's been in some hot water as of lately, and it's scalding hot right now. So, yeah. He's been in some scalding hot water because of the things that he said. Number one, I will say this. Nobody was really paying attention to the tweet until he posted it. That's number one. And when Angel Reese made the cover of NBA 2K, everybody was kind of bracing themselves because they knew the knives were going to come. Everybody knew that, Angel Reese is not necessarily the masses' cup of tea. We all know that. Let's just not run from it. As far as the masses, she's not the masses' cup of tea. So we kind of knew there was going to be some knives thrown. And if he wanted to say what he had to say as far as, how offensive that tweet was, he could have did it and left it at that. But for him to come out and say what he said as far as, Angel hating Caitlin Clark and someone in her camp, reached out and told him that, and Angel Reese
and her
mother. When mom get into the picture, it's going down. So and then they come out and just holler at instant lies at a certain point. My thing is this: if you're gonna report on the W, here's my problem with a lot of these guys. If you're gonna report on the W, report on everything. That's number one. If you're gonna report on the W, report on everything. Don't just take this as an opportunity to get clicks and views for your channel. Now, we all know drama is a part of sports. We all know controversy sell. It's all a part of sports. I dig it. But the thing is, if you're going to report on the W, report everything. Don't just take one thing, use it for clicks and views, and then try to make it about yourself. That's the biggest mistake he made, try to make it about himself. And it's sad. Shaq, you pretty much expected that. He's the president of Reebok right now. Who is signed to Reebok? Angel Reese. So you kind of expected him to come out and say something. about that. That doesn't surprise me. But when
That's both affect LSU.
Yes, and LSU. But when Mark Henry comes out and says something negative about you, I only heard Mark Henry say something negative about one person, and that was Ahmed Johnson. Other than that, I have never heard Mark Henry spew anything bad about anybody.
Oh, I have. Hulk Hogan.
Well, that
deserved.
Rightfully
deserved.
so.
Righteous, rightfully.
But that right there is like, that's kind of like saying, cheeseburgers are good. It's just like, yeah, somebody gonna say something bad about Hulk Hogan considering who he is. But for
I want a cheeseburger now.
Yeah. So for Mark Henry to come out and a lot of these guys to come out and say you was wrong for that, you might need to tighten up your shot groups a little bit more. My thing is with RG3 is this. Like I said, if you're going to report on the W, report on it right. Don't just report on it when you see the slightest bit of drama taking place so you can capitalize to get clicks and views. That's number one. Number two, you don't have to keep bringing her up in this whole fake beef with Caitlin Clark all the time. If you really look at it, I encourage y'all to do this. I encourage everybody watching to do this. Go to WNBA League Pass or go to YouTube and pay attention to the live streams that they were doing throughout WNBA All-Star Weekend. Go and pay attention to Courtney Williams and Teaspoon's live stream. Go and pay attention to it. They all having fun. They drinking beer. They singing karaoke. Those players are friends. All of them. They hang out with each other. But on that court, it's a whole nother story. On the court, it's a whole nother story. And it's sad that the masses has not caught up to that. We call the NBA soft at this point. Let's just keep it real. All the old heads, this is the softest era that is. Okay, so when we turn on to the W and see these young women playing like the bad boy Pistons, we should cheer. That's the same thing that we're asking for out of the NBA players. And if a person doesn't like someone, everybody's not going to be friends. Should it matter? Candace Parker doesn't like Coach Gino. It's documented. Move on. But we shouldn't be sitting here. The thing is, that whole rivalry between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, it's gone. There is no rivalry at this point simply because the Chicago Sky's not that good. It can't be a rivalry when your team is not that good and they're not winning. Number two, Angel Reese has been on a tear lately to the point that even Jason Whitlock put her as an MVP candidate. So
and that's saying something.
That's saying a hell of a lot. So the thing is, when you just can't give props and give credit where credit is due, you always got to revert back to drama. That just goes to show us how much of a shade tree journalist that you really, really are. And you're really just using the W for clicks. Because the thing is, you could have said that's not appropriate and left it at that. But you chose to bring your family into it, to lie on Angel Reese's family and her inner circle. You chose to do all of that. And then you wonder why these grown men are coming at you now. That's flagrant. Say what you had to say about the hateful thing and leave it at that. I'm pretty sure if he would have just said this hatefulness should not be tolerated and he reposted it, that probably would have been the problem.
No, Champ, I agree. All he had to do was just say that post of Angel Reese was deplorable, inexcusable, and the person should be held accountable. But to say Angel Reese's inner circle confirmed to you that there's hate, see, you defeat the whole purpose. And the reason, Champ, I hate when people say that RG3 is just doing it to remain relevant. I didn't want to go there, but I must. I feel like everything Rob Parker said 12 and a half years ago is true. Remember the controversy Rob Parker got when he was on ESPN First Take?
Yes.
And remember what? Go ahead, Chip.
I'll be honest with you. It's not the fact that people always want to relate to what he said about not being cool enough, I will say, to put it in a nice term. People always want to relate to what Rob Parker said about him as you not being quote unquote cool enough. You got to read between the lines on this. But the thing is, with you doing the actions that you have done,
That's my point, champ. Not just that, but also on social media. You know how he talks about milk on social media. He brings it up all the time. I mean, go look at RG3 with his social media. But again, champ, look, with RG3, all he had to do was, look, you already said what you said about with Angel Reese. Okay? Whether we agree or not, fine. That's your opinion. But when you bring up the photo, did you had to bring up the fact that Angel Reese's inner circle? Did you had to bring up that point just to elevate yourself? And to me, when her and her mom are calling you out and accusing you of lying on them, that should tell you something. And then Shaq saying, I'm gonna punch you. And then we all know what Ryan Clark had to say, because remember, Ryan Clark, he and RG3 used to work with each other at ESPN. We already heard what Ryan Clark had to say about RG3.
Yeah.
And look, even though I say Angel Reese is a tweener, because again, some of the controversy she does sometimes bring on herself, but my thing is with RG3, it seems like you obsessed with it, bro. It seems like you are obsessed with it. And when Rob Parker said, is he a brother or a cornball brother? It seems like, and considering some of the things that you post on social media regarding milk, regarding all these other things, it's starting for me to believe, hey, maybe Rob Parker is saying what is true. And in the words of the late, great Maya Angelou, when someone shows you who they are the first time, hey, believe them.
Believe them.
It's crazy that you were one of the most dynamic quarterbacks that we have ever seen. One of the biggest what if stories. You were Jaden Daniels before Jaden Daniels. It just didn't work out. And not to mention a lot of other things factored into play, because for lack of a better term, I don't think John Gruden was a good coach, and I don't think his brother think his brother was a third of what he was. And that's being kind, to be honest with you. Whenever you have guys on that staff like Mike McDaniels and Kyle Shanahan and people like that on the staff, and you can't do so much as reach the playoff and develop a young quarterback like RG3, that's saying something about how much of a lackluster coach that he was. But I digress. Back to this Angel Reese situation. Look, again, you don't have to bring up Caitlin Clark every time Angel Reese's name comes up. And I promise you this. I promise you, just like it's okay to like Bird and Magic, it's okay to like Angel and Caitlin. I'm a fan of both of them. Every time we see both of them win, I think about how far that they can take the WNBA. I think about how many views that if ever the Chicago Sky can get it right and build around her properly, how many views is a 5-game playoff series going to bring to the W when they face off against each other? That's what I think about. But yet, guys are not talking about and giving context to any and everything. They just take the biggest drama situation out of it and just go with that. And it's sad. The thing is about RG3, you didn't have to bring up Caitlin Clark. You didn't have to bring up Angels in a circle, excuse my language. And you didn't have to bring up the fact that you was making it about you and the attacks on your family and stuff like that. You could have just said stuff should not be tolerated and left it at that. But you had to go into this big soliloquy about this and that and the third. Things ain't got nothing to do with what you just tweeted about. And now you're wondering why these grown men are coming at you. And the thing is, Say something positive. Just as quick, look, there's an old saying that we have down south, pay as fast as you collect. I will say that again, pay as fast as you collect. You gonna always got something negative to say? If you're gonna talk crap when somebody make an F on the spelling test, be just as fast to give somebody credit when they make all A's on the report card. Right now, Angel Reese is in the lead for the most improved player of the year. And considering the injuries that we've had in the W at this point, she could damn well be second team all WNBA. Say something positive. You don't always have to be this negative commentator to the point where, you just got to say something negative. You got to bring in Caitlin Clark. You got to bring in this make-believe rivalry. And like I stated, if you look at what's going on at the WNBA All-Star Game, as we talk right about now, all the live streams of the players doing their thing, partying, having fun, that shows you that these players are friends. They just got to go on the court and get their money. They're not making that much. Ness, what's going on? But you have to do better as a journalist and as a player, a former player, to elevate these young women so that they can get paid. That's why guys like myself, that's why guys like PSP, guys like BRF talk about the W, because we want to bring traction so they can get paid. So that way, when the finals come, it can become a happening. The way that these games are in the NBA, the way that we look at the NFL. But when the only time that you're speaking about the W is when it comes to some drama or some BS, you don't need to be talking about the W. I don't have a problem with him talking about the W. Let's just be clear. But when
but it's just controversy, champ. That's the problem that I have. And not controversy. Does controversy always sell? Because again, you did this on your pod. Does controversy sells, right? Because again, with RG3, I don't have a problem with RG3 giving his opinion about Angel Reese regarding her game. But to claim that there's hate, and Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark have made it clear that they don't have hate or beef towards each other, but to lie about it, that makes it worse. I mean, and again, you've mentioned this before, champ, with media and journalism, the lack of integrity. I mean, look, it's because, I mean, just look at Stephen A. Smith of what he said about a certain list. And look, do you know how embarrassing that is for a journalist to go on the air? And again, I don't have a problem with Stephen A. Smith giving his political views or anything like that. But for him to say, I don't care, considering what it's been accused of, what's been involved of, and who may be on that list, allegedly, for him to say, I don't care, that to say that is irresponsible is an enormous understatement. But back to RG3. You already said what you said with Angel Reese. Let it go. Move on. I do like the fact that Shaq had to come to her defense. Do I like the fact that Shaq had to say, I'm gonna punch you? No, not really. I mean, Shaq is a grown man. Shaq's 50 plus years old. I don't think we need to resort to violence. We don't need to do that. I don't think we don't need to do that. But I think with RG3, man, is becoming more true. I don't think he's just doing it just to be relevant. I think he's becoming more and more of what he is. So it doesn't change you, makes you more than what you already are. So I think with RG3, he just put himself in another predicament that should have never happened. And I just think he just made matters worse. Champ had to take care of something real quick. BRF, what are your thoughts about the whole RG3 Angel Reese thing?
Okay. And before I get to that like later on in the show, if you do want to make some time, I do have thoughts about Von Miller going to Washington too. If you do want to make some space, like later on in the show.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. First off, he's not Robert Griffin III anymore to me. Everybody need to start saying it. He is Bob Griffin. He is Bob Griffin. He is not. He is not Robert Griffin III. He is Bob Griffin. That's what he is.
What,
That's what
like
he
Bob
is.
the Builder?
Yeah. Yes. Bob the Builder. Bob Barker. It don't matter. He's Bob Griffin. He is Bob Griffin right now. I mean, they posted. They posted on Twitter. I saw this. I think it was like a stat line. Angel Reese. I think her last I think it's her last 10 or last 8, last 10 or whatever. 19 points, 14 boards, 50% from the field, 58 true shooting, 80% free throws. I mean, just absolutely like she been lights out. And it's the fact that he made it about himself. I can't get with that. Look, I respect you if you're gonna retweet, if you're gonna quote tweet something like that picture of them basically photoshopping just say it for what it is, for photoshopping a monkey on that 2K26 cover in the persona of Angel Reese. If you're gonna quote tweet that, okay, this racism has to stop. You leave it there. Don't go into this whole making it about you, this victim mentality, making yourself the victim in this. And it's like, what's the point of you even saying anything once you start opening that can of worms again? Shut up at that point. I don't care what you have to say. The minute you made it about you, I'm not worried anymore. And it's the fact, and my thing is this, like, I know Champ had brought up, the fact that the Chicago Sky and the Indiana Fever and Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark isn't a rivalry because the Chicago Sky isn't that good. I mean, injuries and whatnot, is it safe to say the Indiana Fever are one of the most disappointing teams in the WNBA this year?
It's fair to say, given the expectations they had prior to the season.
Exactly. Now, I know injuries happen. Injuries are a part of it. But even still, like some of the game, and I know, and like injuries are part of it, but even still, like with Caitlin Clark, for one, she has been getting some criticism as far as her play. She needs more, and deservedly so, because just from the standpoint of her shooting her team out of possessions, making terrible play calls and stuff like that, bad passes, bad shots, like she needs a lot more warranted criticism for how bad she's been playing as of late. But to go back to RG3 though, I mean, it's a real shame that you really had to try to make yourself the center point, the focal point of this whole situation when it ain't even about you. Like Angel Reese, over this past month and a half, 2 month stretch, has really started to find herself and come into her home as a professional basketball player. Has just been lighting it up. And I was one of those that were saying, when it was all loud and the criticism was loud and Angel Reese is a bad player and and it was coming from everyone. I'm one of those that's like, yo, let's get this girl a chance to improve. Let's get this girl a chance to get better. Let's not throw her down the rabbit hole just automatically thinking she's going to be this bad for the rest of her career. We saw her in college. We saw her at Maryland. We saw her in LSU. This bad play is not going to keep up. It's not going to stay like this forever. She is going to ultimately find herself. And I was willing to give her a chance to see if she could really improve and really kind of get better, because I kind of felt like she had it in her. And just this stretch of game has been like a pleasure and a sight to behold, because she's becoming like I mentioned it in the video that I had made when I was on vacation talking about her. Like, you just see it. Like, it's there. Like, her fluidity and how she plays, her footwork, her IQ, and like the shots that she's taking better shots. And her playmaking has really been leaps and bounds better, getting everybody involved. And I mean, and it was helping at the time that the guard play around her was starting to, like, the guards were starting to make shots and were starting to do a little better. But even still, you could see it's almost like the light bulb clicked off. It clicked on. The bulb clicked on. And she's really kind of ran with that. But and then like, instead of giving her the praise that she absolutely deserves, just RG3 just really not, I don't know. I don't want to insult. No, yo, what's up, champ?
BRF, can I say something real quick? I don't mean to interrupt you. You know,
Go ahead, bro.
You know, there was a lot of reporters and a lot of, you know, bloggers who said, you know, the way Angel Reese acts, how does she act? How? I just want to know that.
Yeah, she's herself.
I didn't, you know, people are getting on to her because she was dancing with Sexy Red. Did y'all not see Sophie Cunningham put her whole ass on the live stream with Sydney Colston? And everybody was looking at how fine she was. Y'all didn't have nothing to say about that, did you? Or how those players.
What have you always told me, champ? People going to perceive you based on how they want to.
Again, yeah, and I'm getting to that. But the thing is, when everybody in that Indiana Fever locker room, it was all over the internet, them dancing behind each other, stuff like that. Everybody was just laughing and talking and what have you. They even had that little soundbite moment where me and you and Flash were just laughing it up in the group chat, you know, with that moment between Sydney Colston and Caitlin Clark. You know what moment I'm talking about. And then, you know, we kind of have just come in and start twerking in the camera, but they talking about, oh, yeah, she danced with Sexy Red. Oh, yeah, look at the outfit she got on. If you're going to judge somebody about an outfit that you got on, let me tell you what I wear when I'm not at work. I wear a pair of black sweatpants. I wear a black hoodie, a black T-shirt, and a pair of Nikes. And I got a black T-shirt on right about now that's making so bad about it. I got half the outfit on that I have on a regular basis. With that logic, would you justify somebody beating the hell out of me on the streets? With that logic?
Thank you.
Because of what somebody is wearing? With the whole thing about her saying on her podcast, if they don't give us what we want, we're going to sit out. Last I checked, everybody in the damn WNBA was saying that, including one of the best players in the league, Nafisa Koyer. And even Satu Sabali, when they expanded the team, when they had the expansion of the team, she said the collective bargaining was a slap in the face. We might sit out. Oh, but nobody wants to say anything about that. It's only when Angel does it. Like I said, Sophie stuck her whole behind in the camera and twerked in front of the camera. I mean, but, oh, yeah. What about the stuff she wore to Wild 'N Out? Like I said, I wear black, and this is in the middle of the summer. When I go over my friend's house in order to watch a game, black hoodie, black sweatpants, black shoes. With that logic, I deserve for somebody to snatch me off the streets and beat the hell out of me and be a hashtag. With that logic. And if you don't know what I mean behind that, then guess what? You're out of touch. So with all of this stuff, well, the stuff she does, what does she do other than be young? Y'all had a lot of shit to say about Sadua Sanders, but look where he at right about now. He up there hanging out with the people, making donations and doing everything with the people who houses caught on fire on Cleveland's east side. But you had a lot of shit to say when he came out of the draft. Same thing with Angel. It gets to a point where the thing is you don't want to holler and take the easy way out of talking about the R word. Because the thing is every player in the W is doing it. But when you're sitting around here trying to frame somebody up about what they wear, about how they're talking, about how they're doing this, but then you got the damn hush mouth when somebody is shining like the sun, then maybe you need to shut the hell up when it comes to everything else. Because like I said, look at what she wore on Wild 'N Out. She deserves to be criticized. Have you looked at her tunnel as of lately on Instagram? Have you looked at that? Has anybody looked at WNBA her tunnel? Do y'all see some of the sultry outfits that they have on that? How sexy those outfits are? Have y'all seen that? Go to her tunnel. You'll see how cool they look, like models going through the runway. So guess what? If you're gonna have that criticism for one, have it for everybody. Don't nobody want to hear these certain criticisms. How she acts, how she acting. Is she out here breaking the law? Last I checked during her off season, she went out there, won a championship with Unrivaled, which she got hurt at right before the championship game. She won Defensive Player of the Year, went to Met Gala, and went to a couple of football games. What young player doesn't do that? And started up a damn podcast, got 5 different endorsements, and that was it. She wasn't getting in trouble. She wasn't out here getting DUIs, getting caught at massage parlors. That wasn't her doing that. But yet she was in the headlines for the masses more than anybody was. It comes a time where you have to call stuff for what it is. And like I said, I'm not going to take the easy way out and say, certain stuff, because guess what? I don't have to. It's already there. But if you're going to criticize one, criticize everybody.
I agree, champ. But unfortunately, people going, but you've told me before, people going to perceive you the way they want to perceive you.
Right.
And sadly, that's what it is. But with RG3, he did this to himself. If he's going to blame somebody, he's going to blame himself. All he had to do was, look, you already said what you said with Angel Reese. Keep it moving. No one is knocking you for giving your opinion on Angel Reese, the basketball player, regarding her game. But to retweet the photo and to put yourself in that type of situation once again. And again, with Rob Parker, I mentioned it with Rob Parker. Is he a brother or a cornball brother? Because anytime when you go on social media, you're saying Rob Parker called it, nailed it. And when you look at RG3, how he posts on social media, no, champ, I've told you before, the way he talks about milk and a lot of other things. Am I lying?
No, you're not. And the sad thing about that, people gave Ryan Clark a hell of a lot of backlash for calling him out on that. And he even said himself, and people like to skip over parts. It's kind of like you're watching The Lion King, but you go straight to Uncle Scar dying. People like to skip over exactly what he said. He said he always refers to his wife as milk and how he has an appetite for milk. However, I think the woman that he's married to, his wife, is more than that. People like to skip out that part. They don't like to say that. Now, granted, when you use anybody's wife, mom, girlfriend, or sister in any type of context, you're going to get some pushback for that. But the thing is, the fact that he said, hey, I think she's more than just milk. I think she's more than just what he says. That tells you everything that you need to know. And people are going to criticize Ryan Clark because, he's very, very militant in the eyes of the masses. In the eyes of the masses, I would say. He has a lot of militant speech in which, hey, it's okay. But the thing is, when you're constantly doing something and it becomes a spectacle at a certain point.
Has to be who you are. At some point, I mean, if you're doing it more than once, then what does it say about you and your character? RG3, look, when your integrity is on the line, when both Angel Reese and her mom are calling you out for being a liar,
yes,
and when your actions are becoming more obvious, then it has to say something about you. It really does.
Yes, indeed.
It really does. But let's continue on with media, folks. Obviously, the news, Fox Sports, they release Emmanuel Acho, Joy Taylor, Paul Pierce. Did they release a LaShawn McCoy champ?
Yes, sir. And Keyshawn
Johnson, yes. Obviously, I'm not surprised that Fox News made the decision to let them go because of the ratings, how the shows didn't turn out so well, like Speak, Undisputed. We've talked about it before, champ. They were never going to be the same after Shannon Sharp's departure. Even when they brought in Keyshawn Johnson, Richard Sherman, and Michael Irvin, they're nowhere near the talent or personality as Shannon Sharp. With Joy Taylor, remember, let's not forget the lawsuit that she and Skip Bayless were allegedly involved with the hairstylist, the former hairstylist. You know, Joy Taylor was accused of sleeping with some of the top executives at Fox Sports just to elevate herself. And according to the lawsuit, allegedly telling the hairstylist to get over it after she was sexually assaulted by one of the top executives. As far as with Paul Pierce, I believe he'll be fine. If there's one podcast I can see him on, is Gilbert Arenas' podcast. That's the podcast I could see him with, because there's him, Gilbert Arenas, Kenyon Martin. I've seen DeMarcus Cousins, Brandon Jennings, Nick Young, and they've had some bad takes. They've had some good takes. Paul Pierce can handle that type of podcast. Heck, yes. Paul Pierce can handle any type of podcast. I saw him doing a podcast with Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. So I could see Paul Pierce doing that. Keyshawn Johnson, okay, I like Keyshawn a lot, but he hasn't been the same since Sunday and Monday NFL Countdown. You've been let go from ESPN, and you've been let go from Fox Sports. Now, it's also been reported, Fox Sports, they landed Dave Portnoy of Barstool Sports to join the big football game day for college football. I think they're kind of like using him the same way ESPN brought in Pat McAfee, not only to have his own show, but also to be on college game day. I think that's the reason why Fox Sports brought in Dave Portnoy, because if you look at the shows right now for Fox Sports, the best ones are First Things First with Nick Wright and Chris Broussard, and then The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Yes.
That's about it. There's not really that many good shows right now on Fox Sports. As for Joy Taylor, I could see her doing podcasts. She was on podcasts with Taylor Rooks before. And Joy Taylor talks about a lot of other things besides sports. And I've said this before, champ, when I did the video on this, and you saw the video. Joy Taylor, whether if she works in a big or a small network, she's going to have to live with the perception of being a hoe. I don't like using that term, but unfortunately for Joy Taylor, that's going to be the perception. Because people, I'm sorry, champ, but that's just. I'm sorry, champ, but that's what it is. Because anytime when you bring up Joy Taylor on social media, they're gonna ask who she had to be with, who she had to sleep with. You know, what top executive did she had to be with just in order for her to have that type of job? And also, yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm being honest. And plus, champ, the only time you agree with Jason Whitlock is when he talks about Joy Taylor and that peanut butter skin. So,
I'm dead right about that. You could at least said, a harlot, what biblical or something like that, but you had to bring out the hard H. But
am I lying?
Unfortunately, you're not. And here's the thing. I believe that each and every one of those young men and women is going to be fine. Keyshawn Johnson has a new series out on his sports channel called Legends of Los Angeles. As we all know, he's from Los Angeles.
Yes,
and I'm enjoying that as we speak. And I think Keyshawn needs his own platform because, he's, for better or for worse, he's too big to share the stage with someone, I will say. He's not a Shannon Sharp personality, and he doesn't have the credentials that Shannon Sharp has. But for him to do the Legends of LA, talking to Candace Parker, Cheryl Miller, just to name a few. That whole thing is beautiful. And I'm loving what I'm seeing from Keyshawn. Paul Pierce, nah, he's good. I can see him with No Chill Gill. I can see him with those guys.
Definitely not ESPN, not after how he ended.
After that whole thing ended, you'd be lucky if you get a job as the janitor at ESPN. Emmanuel Acho is a smart man. He was a top selling artist with his book. He was a smart man. So I wouldn't don't be surprised if he land on his feet on another network. May not be ESPN, but don't be surprised if he land on his feet with another network. LaShawn McCoy, same thing. As far as Joy goes, I'm just going to be very, very honest with you. You can have the perception of a lot of things, but the thing is, just going to be very, very honest. There's a lot of stigmatism about women in media. There's a lot. And even without a lawsuit, there's always going to be that stigma. It's always going to be when you see a young lady in a high place, they're going to be asking, well, who does she have to be with in order to get that position? I'm pretty sure that people are going to say, people silently, and you hear it on a lot of discourse, they say the same thing about the First Take host, Molly. Because they say how, she speaks out of turn. She really doesn't know sports. There's always a discourse around women when they're in high places of power about who they slept with. Are they really that talented? And you just have to be ultra special as a sports journalist in order to be in that position. So the thing is, to your point, yes, she's going to have to be up under that stigmatism and the jury being out on her, but you have to ask yourself, what woman, even without a lawsuit over their head, even without a lawsuit, hasn't faced that?
I'm sure they faced that, but doesn't it
that's
hurt?
That's me being PC. But the thing is, you have to ask yourself that in reality, what woman have we ever seen that we haven't said that? Well, won't say we, but the masses hasn't said, I wonder how she got this job. She doesn't really know anything about sports. She was just at this job as a radio host. How she get on ESPN? How she get on FS1? How she get on the Herd? That's a stigma that women face every single day. And like I said, that's even without a lawsuit on your head. Now, with that lawsuit, are people going to look at you sideways even more like?
But that's my point, champ.
Are you serving that peanut butter up on the platter for somebody? So that's what they gonna ask. Unfortunately,
you talk about me being online. You just had to bring up that peanut butter.
Hey man, look, man. Now I gotta go. Look, the only thing about this now I gotta go to YouTube in order to see it. You know what I mean? But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But I will say this, man. There's a stigmatism that women deal with even without a lawsuit over their head. And thus far, we got to keep the same energy that we do with all of these other athletes, with all of these other men that's in media. You're guilty. You're innocent until proven guilty. And the thing is, we haven't heard much about this lawsuit anymore since the beginning, since it stopped. There's been a lot of innuendos. There's been a lot of rumors. There's been a lot of jokes and discourse online. But as far as it being a verdict, as far as somebody winning or losing a lawsuit, as far as new evidence coming out, as far as, less evidence coming out, people recanting their stories, we haven't heard anything about this lawsuit again since it came out. So the same energy that we have with these athletes to say they're guilty and to prove it innocent, then guess what? We need to have the same energy when some of these reporters have their little outburst or little day in courts, if you will, when the verdict is out on them. You're guilty until proven innocent. And thus far, we heard about this lawsuit, I will say 1 year, last year. We heard about it last year, I think. And
months ago.
Yeah, last year. And we haven't heard about that lawsuit since. I mean, it's been so quiet that they haven't even given a statement. The only thing that Fox said about it is we're aware of it. But since then, the lawsuit has gone nowhere. We haven't heard anything about it. So the thing is, the same energy that we have with these guys saying that, hey, you're guilty until proven innocent. We got to make sure some other information come out and stuff like that. Same energy we have with them. Let's have it with the ladies when they get into some trouble. Let's have it. Because the thing is, if somebody comes out and recants their story and it comes to find out they're lying, then what are we going to say?
Then Joy Taylor's going to deserve an apology. But the thing is, champ, we don't know whether it was true or not. We haven't really heard anything since it came out. But when you have Joy Taylor saying the type of stuff that she has said on podcasts,
you know what? I say a lot of stuff all the time. Is the verdict gonna be out on me? I mean,
no, but you know how people are on social media. They gonna pick.
They gonna pick. But the thing is this: I make it be clear that everything I say on here is a part of the show. It's a part of the act. The thing is, you have to make money. You have to use your personality in order to sell podcasts, in order to sell your magazines, in order to sell yourself. Does that mean you do that in real life? Hell no. There's a lot of stuff that me and you talk about offline that I joke about. No. I'm lying, but still.
I know you are.
I'm lying, but
with that being said, champ, unfortunately for Joy Taylor, I understand the stigma part with women.
Yeah.
But when you have these types of accusations, it's still going to hurt you. And again, no matter what, innocent or guilty, people are going to always bring up those types of things. I mean, we heard the news with Shannon Sharp. He recently just settled. And people are going to believe, because he settled, that means he paid them to go away. But we don't know exactly why did he settle. Yeah. So people are going to look outside from a difference and say, hey, he settled because allegedly he's just paying them to go away. We don't even know why he settled. Yes. We did know that from Shannon Sharp, he said he was going to handle the situation. He said he would be back come preseason for ESPN. He stepped down from ESPN. But I do believe Joy Taylor will be fine. After all, she is the little sister of Jason Taylor, who's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. She has been involved in media before, radio before. I think in order for them to succeed, they're going to have to move on what we're doing, transitioning to podcasts. And that's the thing. I mean, look at Skip Bayless. Since Undisputed, now he has his own podcast. Stephen A. Smith, even though he's still the face of ESPN and ESPN gave him a ton of money, he's doing his podcast. And that's what you're seeing. You're seeing a lot of other people doing their podcast. Don Lemon used to work at CNN. He's now doing his own podcast. So the thing is, I believe they'll be fine. It's just that with Joy Taylor, she's going to be viewed at differently because obviously she is a woman and because of that lawsuit. With Paul Pierce, Emmanuel Acho, Keyshawn Johnson, Shady McCoy. Look, with Paul Pierce, I don't really like his basketball takes a lot. I'm sorry, and I really don't. Neither of them. I don't like any of their takes. But I do believe they'll be okay. I do believe they'll have some success in podcasting or in media. But look, heck, if Jason Whitlock can go from ESPN to Fox Sports to Glenn Beck's The Blaze, then hey, it's no surprise that those individuals can transition into podcasts. Heck, Jason Whitlock's got his own podcast called Fearless, or show called Fearless. Although I think the name of the title Fearless does not fit him, but that's the story for another day. But I think they'll be fine. It's just that, will it be what it was? No.
podcasts for athletes and guys like us have become the new HBO.
Yes.
It's become, let me rephrase that. Podcasting for athletes, for many guys like us, it has become what HBO was to comedians. Remember, they used to do their specials on HBO back when HBO was kind of popular and known for having, these comedians on there because they wanted to have creative control of what they wanted to say rather than only having like 5 minutes on another person's show, that be a Def Comedy Jam, a Comic View, or something like that. So podcasting, I believe, to a lot of sports guys, a lot of different people, a lot of different subjects, has become the new HBO when it comes to having creative. Because when you notice back in the day when people would go to HBO, as far as being a comedian or even someone being a songwriter or whatever, they had a lot of creative, control. And I think podcasting has become a new that. And I believe really and truly we're going to see the days where guys like us supersede what the talking heads on television have to say, simply because people are losing faith in media right about now, especially sports media. I mean, sports media, I've never, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a freelance guy, but I've never seen it where people don't respect the journalistic knowledge of said major journalists. Remember when Stuart Scott was out, his word was gold. God rest his soul, John Clayton, NFL senior analyst. He was alive. His word was gold. There's very, very few guys right about now that when you talk about them, their word is gold.
Brian Windhorst.
Yes. When you talk about guys, their word is gold, I think it's Shams, Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter, and then you can pretty much draw the line right about there since Woles is gone. There's not a lot of guys in sports media that when they say something, it's gold. And you know it's the truth. And you know that you're getting the absolute fact. And I think that's why a lot of podcasters, much like yourself, PSP, there's a reason why you have 125,000 people following you right now. I believe podcasters like yourself and a lot of these independent freelancers, that's the reason why they're able to have the platform that they have, because of us not being able to trust sports. When you hear Kendrick Perkins talk, really nobody wants to listen. When you hear Paul Pierce talk, really nobody wants to listen. When you hear a lot of these guys talk, although they're former athletes, nobody really wants to listen to them. It's getting to that point where these major networks are just like, not only that, they have to deal with streaming services. Nobody's really watching your show live anymore. So with that being said, these networks, not just Fox, even ESPN, because their ratings are down. Because they're calling it, the masses is calling it a certain type of network. So when you take that into consideration, I believe that these major sports networks, they're on their way down, and they're starting to media, and the new sports media is guys like us. Because like I stated, when you really look at the context of how people view Stephen A. Smith, people don't really view him the way they used to. When you look at the way that people view even reputable journalists, they really don't trust them. Like I said, outside of Shams, am I saying his name correctly? It is Shams, right?
Shamsharania.
It's Shams.
Shams.
Yeah. Yeah, Shams Sharan. I don't want to mispronounce anybody's name. But Shams, Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter, and since Woles is gone, that's it. There's not that one reporter that you're going to take his word as everything. It's just a lot of opinion-based hot takes and innuendo at this point. And I think that's why a lot of these sports networks are down, because they can come to guys like us and get that. They don't have to. They can subscribe, but it's free. I don't have to pay.
I think people more interested. I think people are more interested, champ, in hot takes rather than the truth. They don't want to believe in the truth. They rather just go with the hot takes because the hot take sounds more compelling, more intriguing. But with Keyshawn Johnson, Joy Taylor, Emmanuel Acho, Shady McCoy, I still think they'll be okay. Just not Fox Sports, ESPN. But BRF, what are your thoughts about Fox Sports, about the firings of Emmanuel Acho, Joy Taylor, Keyshawn Johnson, and them?
Well, I kind of feel like, I mean, I get the whole like, financial decisions and all this other stuff. I know what a good bit of it is as far as the Joy Taylor situation. They trying to, you ain't finna sit here and tell me they ain't trying to get rid of a lot of that negative PR that she brought. They ain't about to sit here and tell me that don't have a lot, like something to do with her being cut. You ain't finna tell me that PR she brought a while back ain't got something to do with that. They ain't finna tell me. They can disguise it as a financial decision all they want to. Nah, they ain't fooling me. Dave Portnoy though. Dave Portnoy. Out of all the people you could have brought in, Dave Portnoy, like really. I mean, I get Barstool Sports. They're an entity. I'm trying to be nice. They're an entity. They should be respected. But Dave Portnoy though. I mean, don't get me wrong. It is sports. It is Fox. It's Fox. So I mean, it's bless their souls. It's on brand. It's very on brand. Bringing a Dave Portnoy onto their network. It's on brand. That's a conversation for another show. We'll just leave it at that. But I feel I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I don't really like watch a whole lot of Fox Sports like that. I mean, I do follow. I do like the YouTube, like for the highlights and stuff. I do follow the Speak. I do follow Speak. I do have. I mean, I have respect for Shady and Keyshawn. I mean, I don't agree with a lot of what Shady McCoy say, but I mean, I respect his views and opinions as an athlete, as a former NFL player. I don't know. Just I don't know. It feels very on brand of Fox to fire them and bring on Dave Portnoy. I feel I feel like that's very on brand with their network. Whatever. I mean, I don't know what Dave Portnoy is going to bring as far as his viewpoints and what's going to add. Because I mean, it was like and it wasn't just them. It was like three shows that they're getting rid of. I think it was like them. It was the breakfast show with Chris Carton, and it was one more show. So it was like three. It's like three shows total that they're cutting, which in total is about like 11, 12 people that are like, that are basically gone from Fox. So I mean, Fox really for me lost a lot of their momentum after like the demise of like what Undisputed was. Like a lot of the momentum that Fox Sports was really gaining and the traction that they were gaining, having Skip and Shannon, before the whole, Skip trying to call out Shannon for being jealous of Tom Brady, which was definitely the beginning of the end of that show. They like a lot of the momentum that they had really picked up from that show, they lost after it went away, and it's kind of like it still feels like they're trying to pick up the pieces, and it's like they're not doing. I feel like they're not doing the greatest job of it. So I mean, I don't know. Whatever. I'm not going to try to speculate as far as whatever Dave Portnoy is going to add to the network, but that does bring a little bit of interest, a little bit of intrigue. I do kind of want to see where they're going to, what he's going to bring to the table for them. I mean, only time will tell on that. But yeah, I think a lot of that was definitely related to that PR she brought back to that network a few months ago. So I think this is also them to an extent feeling like they're getting rid of that. They're getting rid of a headache, because that's gonna, as long as she's on that network, we're gonna talk, and the speculation is gonna be there, and it's gonna linger. it's gonna linger no matter how much they were gonna try to disguise it, no matter how much they were gonna try to put it in the rearview mirror. As long as we saw Joy Taylor on Fox Network, those thoughts are always gonna be there. So
Yeah.
exactly, the conversation is always gonna be there. The water cooler talk is always gonna be there. So Fox Sports probably I feel like they felt like a little bit like, yeah, like let's kind of move on from this. Let's see if we can kind of gain some traction back the right way. I don't know how Dave Portnoy is going to do it, but we'll see. But I mean, at the end of the day, you don't want nobody to lose their job still. So
Right.
so I feel like, you know what I'm saying, I think Keyshawn will be fine. Shady, I mean, look, I don't see any reason, guys like Keyshawn and Shady and Emmanuel Acho especially. Hey, say what you want about Emmanuel Acho. The dude is one of the more intellectual dudes in the sports talk game. We're not gonna sit here and deny the man. I mean, he makes points we agree with. He's made points we don't agree with, but we're not gonna. But us being who we are, as being, being true to this and understanding what's real, like he's gonna get back on his feet because because he knows how to talk. He really knows how to really kind of get his points across in an eloquent enough way to really kind of present himself and get him out there. Emmanuel Acho is going to be fine. And another thing with Joy Taylor, she knows her stuff. We're not going to sit here and act like she don't know stuff. And good gracious, look at her family. Jason Taylor is her brother, one of the greatest defensive ends in the history of the National Football League.
Yeah.
Is her brother.
Her nephew,
So
Mason Taylor, who's also playing for the New York Jets at the tight end spot, also played at
exactly,
LSU.
exactly. She is in a family with a sports background. So it's not like she's not coming in not knowledgeable of things. She knows stuff. She reads. She's a smart woman. She's reading stuff. She's following things. And she's fine. Legit, keep it a buck. We ain't finna sugarcoat nothing. She is one of the best looking women in sports talk. She is one of the best looking women in sports talk. We are not going to sugarcoat it. So just that combination that she's going to bring to the table with how beautiful she is and her being able to back it up with her smarts, she's going to land on her feet. I feel like everybody's going to be fine with this. It's just a matter of the right opportunity presenting itself, whether it be podcast, whether it be another show. I think ultimately everybody's going to be okay for this. They're going to move forward and they're going to pick up and they're going to keep it pushing. So as much as I hate them losing their jobs, they're not in dire straits because they all bring something to the table in this field that we are all wanting to strive in and we are all wanting to be successful in. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I think they're going to do fine. I think they're going to be okay. And I think they're going to be able to pick themselves up and keep it pushing. So I hated they lost their jobs, but do I think they're going to have an issues as far as like being able to keep their names out in the public eye in the sports talk world? No, I don't think they're going to have an issue with that at all.
And we've seen it before. Look, there are other athletes, ex-athletes who've been on networks that are doing well. Their podcast, Marcellus Wiley, is one. And I love the fact that Marcellus Wiley is doing his own thing. He does a good job. He talks about, and he and Stephen A, they've been having some beef lately because of how Stephen A has really talked about Max Kellerman and how, Max and Marcellus, how they used to work with each other on the radio at ESPN, Sports Nation. I believe they'll be fine. Joy, unfortunately, she's going to have to live with that perception, champ. Even whether woman and with the accusations, she's going to have to live with that. I just think with the accusations, it just adds even more. I think even if champ, if you told me, hey, she's a woman and because she's attractive, okay, I can understand that because that's been the stigma with women for a lot of times. But when those accusations come out, even though we haven't heard much, but still, that's pretty damning.
Yeah,
So,
it's pretty damning. And one thing I would like to add before we end the segment and to ask you two smart gentlemen this, is it time to for these networks to start hiring journalists once again as sports writers, and for them to stop hiring former athletes. Because the thing is, we thought that them hiring athletes was gonna give us a more, I would say, unbiased take on things.
Yes.
But now we're seeing that it does not, as evident with Paul Pierce and a lot of other guys.
Yes,
it's time for them to stop hiring those athletes and for them to start hiring reputable journalists.
Because it goes to show you that the days of, well, how would you know? You never played the game, therefore you can't speak. Those days are gone now.
Mm-hmm.
So because if you're going to use that logic, Kendrick Perkins would be the best sports analyst. And we've heard a lot of his takes. Not that good. We've heard a lot of other takes. So, yeah, I mean, but unfortunately, Champ, with ESPN and all these other networks, they're more interested about the ratings. They're more interested in ratings. I mean, nowadays, when you look at the sports media, particularly some of the shows on ESPN, it's becoming more like reality television. And Stephen A. Smith, I'm sorry, even though he's the face of ESPN, got his contract 5-year, $100 million, he's becoming more and more like a reality star nowadays. Because when you hear some of the stuff that he says, not just about with sports, but also in other things as well, which y'all can talk about it, but hey, but you need to go back to journalism. You need to go back to people who've covered the game, who have knowledge, who are fair, who will just critique the game and game itself. They need to go back into doing that. But it seems like to me, people are more interested in hot takes. People are more interested in clicks and reviews rather than the truth. Doesn't matter about the truth. Doesn't matter about facts. They're more interested in what they want to believe.
Mm-hmm.
They're more interested in fiction. And that's the shame in reality.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why I asked that question, because I thought that when the athletes became the analysts, that we was going to start getting a more better take on things. It's gotten worse.
It has.
It's gotten worse. And as far as ESPN, look, bringing back the shows that.
Why do you think they're bringing back NBA on NBC, champ? You told me that before.
The thing is, sports stories sell itself. You don't have to bring drama into it. The NFL sells itself. You don't have to bring drama into it. The thing is, the W sells itself. You don't have to bring drama into it. It's pure. In the great words of Jim Brown when he said on any given Sunday. The thing is this, ESPN was at its most popular when shows like Top 5 Reasons You Can't Blame was on there. Shows like Up Close when they were interviewing the athletes every day. Y'all remember Up Close, right? With I think his name was Chris Myers.
Yes.
Yes. Everybody remember Up Close for another certain reason, but we won't go there.
Or sports reporters.
Yes, sports reporters. You remember that? You remember it's for Sports Century. Long before 30 for 30, you had Sports Century that gave you many documentaries on how these athletes became and on their lives. And you had better coverage of every sport. Let's just keep it a buck. Back in the 90s, early 2000s, ESPN had a show for every sports fan. You remember when I think his name was Coach Melrose? I remember he used to host the Hockey Tonight segment. ESPN Hockey Tonight. It's gotten so bad at ESPN that they're not going to be even hosting baseball tonight anymore. I think that's going to CBS. So that's what we got to get back to as far as these sports networks are concerned. Get back to the journalism and the pureness of sports. You don't have to sell drama. The reason why people are getting turned off at the NBA because every time we look around, we talk about the same damn thing. Who's the GOAT? We just talked about this 3 weeks ago. What about who's the most improved player? Who's coming out of college? Who's hit the transfer portal? Who's going to be most valuable player? That's why a lot of these sports networks are going down there. Like you said, PSP, they're selling it like reality TV now, when that's not sports. Sports is not freaking scripted. This is not the WWE.
But apparently that's what they want. And they don't care about the reality. You know, just like when we discussed with RG3 and Angel Reese, it's a damn shame because we should be talking more about with the WNBA. Again, if Fisha Collier, as right now, if the season ended today, she would be winning the MVP. Or Paige Bueckers, or a lot of other things regarding the WNBA. But instead, we talk about that, and people outside, casuals, will feel like, well, this is an interesting thing to talk about with the WNBA. Not to me. Especially, I may not watch or cover the WNBA as much as you, Champ, but I watch it from time to time. I actually like watching the WNBA. But it doesn't seem, but casuals, they're not interested in it. They're not interested in the players. They're not interested in the game. They're more interested in just drama, fights, reality, and things like that. But again, that's what people just want, the attention, the drama, instead of the journalism, the reporting. And that's a lost art in today's generation. And it's a shame, and we have to remind people that there are good, credible journalists out there like Brian Windhorst. If Brian Windhorst is going to say something, I want to hear what he has to say. Or anyone in the NFL, like Ian Rappaport or Diana Rossini or Jacina Anderson. Remember back in the days, one of my favorite female reporters, Pam Oliver, who used to work at Fox Sports, or Rachel Nichols.
Yes.
But it just seems like people are more interested in hot takes. They're more interested in what they want to believe. And that's what helps them get the clicks, reviews, and all these other things. And it does a disservice. So
yes, it does.
Nothing more I could say. But before we move on to the next subject, BRF, you said you wanted to say something regarding Von Miller to Washington.
Yes, I did. Because if there's one thing I enjoy talking about, it's the defensive side of the ball in terms of football. So I like the move too, and Dan Quinn, even though Von Miller is like, kind of like, back end of his career, he's still serviceable. I think what Dan Quinn sees in Von Miller is his first opportunity to really reinstitute or kind of invigorate the Leo position, the position that he basically cultivated and made into a thing. And that's basically just your designated, I don't want you to do nothing else, whether your hands in the ground, whether you're standing up, I want you to go get the quarterback. That's all I want you to do. And with Von Miller, even though he's getting up there in age and he's nearing the end of his career, he's still effective when it comes to quarterback pressures and getting to the quarterback. He's still effective. So Dan Quinn sees Von Miller, and he sees finally an opportunity to really reinvigorate that spot and be able to truly use it to the fullness of his ability. Because Dan Quinn is always, when Dan Quinn's defenses are at their peak, whether it's not allowing yards or forcing turnovers, he has someone in that Leo position doing damage. Whether it's Bruce Irvin in Seattle, whether it was Vic Beasley in Atlanta, whether it's somebody like a DeMarcus Lawrence or Micah Parsons with the Dallas Cowboys, he has somebody in that position most effective when they can just pin their ears back and go get the quarterback. And when you see a guy like Von Miller who can still do that even at his age, Dan Quinn sees it, finally feels like he has a player he can put into that role, and they will fill that role to the fullness of his ability. And I like that move because when Dan Quinn's defenses are at their best, the Leo is wreaking havoc at just about every play, which allows other guys to get one-on-one blocking on the defensive line. That way they're making plays. Linebackers are roaming free, being able to hit running backs, being able to go sideline to sideline when you can't get on them as much, and as well as the secondary. So he sees Von Miller as probably the first real shot, maybe not to unlock the full potential of the Washington defense, but to see some improvement as opposed to what they were last year. So I'm not necessarily saying this is a Super Bowl winning move, but I do see with a Von Miller there, even though, like I said, even at his age, his ability to still being able to rush the quarterback, it would not shock me if statistically Washington on defense got a little better next year. It wouldn't shock me because I think Von Miller is going to be able to bring what he does best and it's going to translate into the rest of that defense. And y'all might not be top 10, but I could definitely see statistical improvement because Dan Quinn's going to feel like he's got a guy he knows is going to go get the quarterback and hopefully it'll open up everything for everybody else to be able to make plays and do their thing. So, like I said, it may not be a Super Bowl winning move, but as far as just a sheer improvement on that defense, I like the move for Washington.
All right. And Dwayne Coleman had something to say. Did y'all watch Shane Gillis's S-Piece?
He destroyed that show. He was great. He was so great. Ooh. Oh, he was great. He was oh my god. What? Okay, it was okay. My favorite jokes, the WNBA joke. Oh my gosh, he called out his friend's wife, 4-time WNBA All-Star. I guess the lady's name was Brittany Hicks. Shout out to Brittany Hicks. And then the crowd just cheered, and he's like, I got y'all. I knew y'all didn't know WNBA players. Oh, I thought he was good. Man, let me tell you though, Disney was probably looking at him and they were watching that and they were just like, "What did we do? What did we do? We need a mulligan." Disney's like, "We need a mulligan on this. We ain't bringing him back next year."
You know what? No, I don't. Look, I still don't think nobody can top that Heisman joke that Charles Woodson had back in 1999. Nobody can top that Heisman joke. Nobody can top that Heisman joke. I don't care what anybody says. That Heisman joke that he did with Charles Woodson in 1999, that whole crowd was holding this collective breath. That was crazy.
All right, fellas. For the next subject, babyface or heel. Now, for those who may not know what babyface heel means in wrestling terminology, babyface means good guy, hero. Heel means bad guy, villain. Tweener is someone in between babyface and heel. So I came up with a list of athletes or celebrities, and myself in the panel, we're going to decide whether they are a babyface or heel. BRF, you go first. Odell Beckham Jr. Courtesy to Undisputed World Champ. Shout out to Undisputed World Champ. He came up with Odell Beckham Jr.
Oh man, Odell Beckham Jr. Oh gosh, I don't think he was never. I think he's a tweener because I don't think he was ever bad enough to be a heel, but he was never like universally loved by everyone to be a babyface. So I think he was. I think he's in the middle. But I take that back. I will say this: that Super Bowl game when he was with the Rams, I think I felt bad for him because he
would have won Super Bowl MVP.
He would have won Super Bowl MVP. He went off, and I was happy for him to see him finally get a moment like that in the Super Bowl to be able to show what he could still do. Because even though he wasn't, New York Giants Odell Beckham Jr., but he was still the Odell Beckham Jr. that could take it to the house on any given play, and he wasn't like all-time early great game breaker Odell, but he was still a game breaker when he was with the Rams. And for him to suffer that injury the way he did, man, it was tough. It was tough, and I think he garnered a lot of sympathy from people, and deservedly so. I mean, your first shot at the Super Bowl, you go and you show out and you're on your way to Super Bowl MVP and then you tear your ACL? Like, come on. Like, that is like you wouldn't wish nothing like that on your worst enemy. Let alone somebody like an Odell Beckham getting his first opportunity in the biggest game of his life. So but I think man and like a lot of the like when he was in New York, like I'll say tweener, but I will say okay, I'll be for real. I'll say tweener, but I'm a lean like kind of like the baby face side of tweener a little more than the heel side. Cause I guess if you want to say kind of like I don't know necessarily like the Stone Cold Steve Austin type of baby face, but kind of close. Like his New York Giants days was like some of the greatest performances as far as like a season wise you'll ever see from a wide receiver in terms of like first few years getting into the league and just dominating from the word go. Like and then everybody's gonna go back to that catch against the Dallas Cowboys, that Monday Night Football game. I mean, still to this day, one of the greatest catches ever recorded, ever seen on TV. Like, ain't no way a human being should be making a catch one handed, that angle, a ball thrown that deep. Just ain't no way. Ain't no way. And he pulled it off, scored a touchdown, and it was just like, but the thing that people kind of misconstrue about Odell Beckham, let's not let that catch define him as a player, because New York Giants Odell Beckham is like that was S tier football. Odell Beckham with the Giants was S tier football. He was amazing. And this was like twilight of his career. Eli Manning he had and was still just destroying any and every corner you put in front of him. I think the bad taste kind of started to get in your mouth with like how he handled how he handled certain situations, like whether it was whether it was leaving the Giants and then ultimately getting to Cleveland and ultimately leaving Cleveland, and just I don't know, just
the playoff
there could have
game
been
before against Green Bay Packers.
exactly, yeah, it's exactly like there are some things that kind of was like, you know what, he's good, but is he really? Do I trust him in certain moments? Like, is he really like that as far as like a big time player or a team, just a teammate in general? Can we really trust him like that? But but yeah, that's what I say. That's what I say. Ultimate. But then, like I said, that Super Bowl game really kind of the Super Bowl and him getting hurt, and then kind of garnering a little bit of that sympathy back, and then and then another thing was like going to Baltimore, and even though we know he wasn't that Odell Beckham anymore, the way he was still able to play in Baltimore and helping that team out, man, just being a vet, kind of taking a lead, just you earn more respect for him. So all in all, I'm gonna say a little more on the baby face side, but I'm gonna say tweener, just because I don't think he was never universally hated enough to be a heel, and I don't think he was never really universally loved to be a baby face. So I'm gonna go tweener. I'm gonna kind of stick in the middle.
Champ.
Oh man, Odell, babyface. I say he's a babyface, and I will say this: this is coming from a guy who called Odell Beckham overrated. I used to call him overrated. I felt like him, how I felt about Allen Iverson when he was playing. I always felt like he was kind of, and this is just my sentiment, how I was thinking back then. I didn't appreciate Odell until after he left the game. If he does not get hurt, he's in the Hall of Fame. Because we talk about every great receiver in the 2000s, you got to mention Odell in that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And when it came to him, I was this old man, get off my lawn type of character. I'm not going to lie to you. When he caught that pass, guys like myself, the old heads, and I will admit it. Man, Chris Carter was doing that back in the 90s, man. That shit ain't all that, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, The thing is, his passion was kind of misplaced. People, and if it wasn't for how voracious the New York media was, how they kind of like parents when you make an F on the spelling test, but you make all A's on your report card. They still go back to that damn F on the spelling test and ask you why you ain't make a 100. So that's how I feel about how the New York media was. Now, I do kind of look at the whole boat incident. You know, you going to Cancun on a day off right before a playoff game. That was kind of weird, to be honest with you. I mean, you know, that was kind of weird.
That franchise ain't never been the same since that photo.
But wait a minute. But in fairness to Odell, though, we did see Tony Romo and Jason Witten at Cabo San Lucas before a playoff game.
Yes, we did. I was getting to that. So guess what? You know,
to which Terrell Owens had to publicly defend Tony Romo and said, "That's my quarterback. That's my teammate."
Boy, I ain't never seen T.O. cry day in their life. Oh my gosh, boy.
You ought to do that. That's not fit. But yeah. I'm sorry. You know the funnies are gonna come out. But
that's my quarterback. I'm like, T.O., don't do it to him, T.O. Don't do it, T.O. Don't do it.
Y'all criticize him, man. That's not fair. Sound like damn Porky Pig on that damn stage. But I think that if it wasn't for him, if he would have played for a team like a Minnesota or Atlanta, people would have paid attention a hell of a lot more to his passion and his ability, more so than some of his misplaced passion, what they were used to say, what the media used to say on the sideline. Because guess what? The Giants outside of here wasn't that damn good. Let's just keep it all the way a buck. You know, if you shut him down, you pretty much just shut the passing game down. Let's just keep it all the way real. Because during that time, Victor Cruz was hurt all the time, and he was the guy for New York. So if it wasn't for how voracious the New York media was, then would we really look at him as like, no. But yeah, like I said, I am a guy who called Odell overrated. I am a guy who said Chris Carter was making those catches back in the 90s. I was the old man, get off my lawn type of guy when it came to Odell. Because, you know, of my infatuation with football nostalgia. I will openly admit that. Sometimes I still do get caught up in my football nostalgia because I am old. Just like my father would tell me all the time, Joe Green is better than Aaron Donald, and I look at him kind of crazy. But, you know, that's how generations, you know, we clash over sports. But as far as Odell, he wanted to win. And I think that the media in New York kind of got onto him a hell of a lot more than they should. The Giants was not that good. Eli was in the twilight of his career. Tom Coughlin was on his way out. There was a lot of changes within their franchise, and he was the guy. He got the criticism that a quarterback would get. He dealt with the criticism that normally a quarterback could get because he was that guy. But if he doesn't get hurt, he's in the Hall of Fame. When you talk about the 2010s, the main names that I'm going to mention is Megatron, is Antonio Brown, is Julio Jones, is all of those guys. But I'm going to mention Odell Beckham because of how dynamic that he was. He was a hell of a dynamic player. And let's not forget that rivalry that he had with Josh Norman for that little short stint that they had while Josh Norman was still good. So I label him as a babyface. He didn't go out there and do anything that was deemed heinous. There was a lot of passion. I think the media misplaced a lot of it. And like I said, this is coming from a Falcons fan who was like Julio at that time was end all be all. I was the ultimate homer. Because whenever people would bring up Odell Beckham, I would always say, well, hell, he ain't Julio. And that'll end the argument. So and that was my mentality. When he ain't Julio, you know, and I used to say, look, like I said, it's the nostalgia when it comes to sports with some of us old heads. But I would say that Odell was a hell of a receiver. If he doesn't get hurt, we're talking about him at least top 10, maybe even top 5 of all time if he doesn't get hurt, because he was that damn dynamic. I mean, the first 3 years he went for more yards than Randy Moss did in his first 3 years. And remember, Randy Moss, when he first got to Minnesota, it was a hard thing to guard. I know this. We had to face. That was the main thing that my team was concerned about when we faced them in the NFC Championship. How are we going to stop this guy? Because you know Ray Buchanan, he wasn't as fast as Randy Moss. I'm surprised they contained him during that game. So I gotta say, man, Odell, much like Allen Iverson, I didn't respect your game until after you retired, until after you got into the latter parts of your career. I fell into the hype of the media and how they criticize you, and I criticize you because of my infatuations with not only, my wide receiver, that being Julio Jones, who's arguably the best in Falcons history, but, got involved in the nostalgia of sports when it comes to the eras that I grew up in. I didn't respect his game until I got to where I am now as far as sports and learning a lot. And I'll say this, man, I know this off topic. Us old heads, we can learn a lot from the young guys. Let's just keep it a buck about sports. Our era is not just end all be all. I cannot tell you the things that I've learned from PSP himself, from Trent, from Brandon from the block, from a lot of these Hot Take Kenny, a lot of these younger guys that has taught me a lot about sports without them even knowing. Because prior to doing these podcasts, thank God for PSP for bringing me on, I was just a stat guy and an eye test guy. It was really no context. It was either this or that. So to all of you older guys out there, 37 and, older, start realizing you can learn something from these young men and these young women that you could never realize, because they keep you updated on a lot of the stuff that's going on in sports. We have to start looking at the world of sports as well as the rest of the world throughout outside of the lenses of how we grew up in the nostalgia of sports. We can learn something from these young guys. So take your time to learn, man. Just because you're old doesn't mean, don't be the last person to realize that the world has changed. The world changed, and guess what? I wasn't hip to that change when Odell was playing. But now I realize how great he really was after his career was over.
Tweener. Had not been for injuries, Odell Beckham Jr. would have definitely been in the Hall of Fame. The only two wide receivers you would argue above him are Antonio Brown and Julio Jones. No other wide receiver that was better than him.
You can for the 2010s, you can make the 2010s. You can make a case for AJ Green, but that's it.
You could make a case for AJ Green, but I think Odell was more dynamic.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Especially with the yak ability. Odell, what catapulted Odell Beckham Jr.'s career, that Sunday Night Football game against the Dallas Cowboys when he made that crazy one-handed catch, in which the following year he was on the cover of Madden.
Mm-hmm.
I think for Odell Beckham Jr., and again, Cleveland, I don't really put that on him with Cleveland. Baker Mayfield at that time, he and Baker, for whatever reason in Cleveland, that didn't work out. And it was kind of exciting at first because Baker, a young quarterback coming off a really good rookie year. And with Odell, I'm like, how come it didn't work? And then just a year later, when Odell was injured, Baker Mayfield was playing well. They made the playoffs. They won a playoff game. Odell's a good dude. People look at some of the bad things because they look at the party incident with the yacht. They also look at that Paris incident with the OnlyFans or the Instagram model, in the hotel room.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, the rumors about that. Jalen Rose. Shout out to Jalen Rose. He kind of squeezed that into his show one day. Y'all heard about what happened on Odell?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't with you. I can't with you, bro. I can't with you. I can't with you. God, I can't with you. God, I can't with you. God, do it.
Oh man. Hail Mary. That was priceless. But yeah,
Hail Mary, Hail Mary, full of grace. Yeah, exactly.
That was crazy.
True.
Jalen Rose squeezed that in. You heard about what happened with Odell? I think it was Monica McNutt who said, "Stop it, Jalen." So,
Mm-hmm. But Odell, definitely a tweener. Very dynamic wide receiver. I mean, that 2014 wide receiver draft class. I mean, you got Sammy Watkins with the 4th overall pick, Mike Evans 7th. Odell was like the 3rd wide receiver taken. You had Devontae Adams. You had Jarvis Landry.
yeah.
You had a really good wide receiver class that
yeah.
year.
Very, 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 very underrated. Don't get that class does not get the respect they deserve for how many good wide receivers they brought into the league. That 2014 class is highly underrated.
Yeah. But and also too, he did help out Eli because Eli did play for a little bit longer. He get especially 2014, 2015, he gave some of Eli's good years.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there were a lot more problems with the New York Giants organization. All right, next one on the list, Colin Cowherd.
Oh, he's a heel. he's for me. I think he's a heel. Like
quarterback.
Oh boy, stop.
You know what? I lost it for Colin Cowherd. I say he's a heel because he never apologized to Sean Taylor's family.
There you go.
Because he went on ESPN because they wanted it. Because back then, even to today, I would say the University of Miami was not exactly mass friendly. They was not necessarily media friendly. And they want that they wanted his unaliving to be gang related so bad that they was just willing to put out information without even saying anything. So the fact that he never apologized about that is kind of went down in my book. He's a hell of a reporter, but he kind of went down in my book on that day. Plus, people don't give him enough flack for some of the dumb hot takes that he pulled. Like he said, Pittsburgh Steelers should trade T.J. Watt, their star wide receiver, and all of that for Caleb Williams. Like, why the blank would you do that? And it's
let's not forget the Dwayne Haskins situation. Remember that controversy?
Yes. As a journalist, you have to know what you're talking about. I'm not going to go around here and spit ghost-written crap out of my face. You have to get with your people. And the day before we go on the air, and I'm just going to pull the curtain back just a little bit. Day before we go on the air, PSP sends me a rundown. I got to do my research. Sometimes it's a week in advance. I got to do my research. I got to make sure I know what I'm talking about. So for you to be a reporter and you not, there's a lot of hot takes, a lot of just. The only part that I really respected it is when he did Kobe's tribute. When he did Kobe's tribute, and he said sometimes it's just not for rhyme or reason, it's just fate. And remember, they had to turn the camera off because he kind of broke down because he's in Los Angeles. But I will say this: for all of the hot takes and all of the, sad and maybe bad things that he's probably put out there, you can't discount how good of a reporter that he is. And the thing is, he's changed with the times. He had to. The old way that he was doing was just not going to work in this time of drama media. Like he said one thing that I agree with. We're not in the sports business. We're in the story business. And your longevity as a journalist will be your ability to find stories. So I give him credit. He is one hell of a journalist. And he paved the way for a lot of guys to have shows. Before Colin Cowherd, there wasn't a lot of shows like he is on the air. His show was one of the first shows with like a podcast vibe to it. He was one of the first shows. But some of the stuff he said about Sean Taylor when he passed, some of the bad hot takes that he has. It's kind of like what I used to say, you know football better than that. And it's just like, you know better than that. And that's how come I put him as a heel at this point, because it's like some of the hot
or
takes
what he said about Baker Mayfield.
I know he's punching the air right about now every time he sees Baker Mayfield make a Pro Bowl, because he was holding Sam Darnold. And it's probably because it's that Los Angeles factor, I believe. You know, USC is in Los Angeles. He wants those USC guys to do good, which USC, the only guy that they have produced at the quarterback position that has really done anything is Carson Palmer. And that was it. So Vince Ferragamo.
Or how about when he tried to say in that 2019 draft when Lamar Jackson was coming out, he had the nerve to say Josh Rosen was a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson. I about threw some at the television screen.
Yeah, he and Josh Rosen was out of the league, was almost damn near out of the league 2 years later. In fact, he lost his job a year later to Kyler Murray. So
as a rookie, exactly.
And so yeah, they didn't even give Josh Rosen a year to improve. They said they saw what he was and got him up out of there with the quickness. You know, so much for showing everybody what they missed on Josh Rosen.
Exactly. But for every Josh Rosen over Lamar Jackson bad take, I give him props that he shared my vision about the Michael Penix Jr. draft pick. He kind of shared my vision on that a little bit. So I got respect for him for that, because he came out and said, I completely understand why the Falcons did it. And Chant, remember, I broke it down. I completely understood why the Falcons did it. Oh, yeah, we signed Kirk Cousins to that big money contract. Bruh, we don't trust you to stay healthy like that. We go ahead and get this young guy in. That way, if you get hurt, we got insurance, because if you get hurt, he's going to come in and be the quarterback, and he's going to take over from the jump. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. So, yeah. But, I mean, it's like Champ said, man. Yeah, Colin Cowherd, even though he's got a lot of bad takes, he's still one of the faces as far as just like real true journalism out there. He's still one of the faces that are out there. So, you know, yeah, you have to respect him for for everything he's done for the business and for journalism and stuff like that. You definitely have to respect everything he's done. But yeah, I would still put him as a heel, but at the same time I feel like that's what he wanted. That's what he wanted. He didn't want to be like the guy he didn't want to be the journalist you like. He wanted to be those like, I have my feelings, I'm gonna put them out there. If you like them, great. If you don't, I don't care. These are my thoughts. So I think it was kind of by design.
I say heel because I think there are times his criticism when it came to certain players, particularly Baker Mayfield, went too far. And I felt like look, there were comparisons coming out of the draft between Baker Mayfield and Johnny Manziel. Okay, I understand that. But there are times I felt like Colin Cowherd went too far with his assessment, his criticism. Plus, Champ, you also brought up giving up all these draft picks just for Caleb Williams. I mean, he's had some bad takes before, but still, to me, Deshaun Taylor thing. That still stings with me to this day. And of course, what happened with Dwayne Haskins? I mean, you had all this time to do your job as a reporter and as a journalist, as credible as you are. You should have taken the time to actually do your job.
Yes.
And for you to embarrass yourself like that, I mean, I'm sorry. But heel to me, that goes with Colin Cowherd. Last one. J.R. Smith.
Oh, man.
You know what? He's an anti-hero, man. I like J.R. Smith, man. I mean, he was a little bit obnoxious, untied folks' shoes and crap. That was arguably the funniest thing I ever seen on the basketball.
We talking about the Henny guy, bro. That's who we talking about, bro.
He's a tweeter, man. Like I said, that was the funniest thing I ever seen. For him to bend down and untie that dude's shoes. But to his credit, when it was time for him to win a championship in Cleveland, he was on his best behavior. And he was an asset to that team. as far as providing a lot of key plays for that team when they won against the Golden State Warriors.
He did win Sixth Man of the Year when he was in New York when they had that 54-win game season.
Yes,
but no one can forget that infamous game 1.
Oh, no.
But he dribbled the top. And that happened before. Remember, Magic did this. He's not the player that Magic was. Let's just be clear. But everybody remember the 1984 NBA Finals when Magic Johnson dribbled out the time when he was supposed to pass it in to Kareem.
But, he was named as Tragic Johnson.
Yeah, his name Tragic Johnson. But as far as JR, man, when it was time, he played. Everybody's going to criticize him. When you are in New York, you're going to be criticized a hell of a lot more than any of. He was always going to the club. He was always having a good time and, pouring, I remember he won the NBA Finals. He out there, they was pouring beer on each other. That was crazy. But I label him as a tweener. It wasn't one of those guys that guys like Stephen A make guys look better than what they really are. Like the time that Stephen A said, about a certain case in criminal history, in one of the most infamous cases in recent memories, how he was stating that, J.R. Smith should be wearing a hoodie because of that. So a lot of the media will make a lot of guys seem a lot better.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh
yeah. They'll make you seem a lot worse than you think you are. But in reality, LeBron gave him high marks. A lot of guys on his team gave him high marks, saying how hard of a worker that he was. He just liked to go to the club and have a good time. He was a prankster. Like I said, the funniest thing I've ever seen was him untie that dude's shoes at the free throw line. He bent down, untied his shoes, and got. That was the funniest. That was funny, man. I don't care what anybody said. My dad wasn't a big fan of that, but when he bent down and untied that dude's shoes like he did, that was the funniest thing I ever seen happen in the game.
But the great thing about JR, though, he has no conscience. Sometimes he'll make some he'll make mistakes, though, but other times you can live with it. But he could also golf. For those who may not know, J.R. Smith can actually golf. And remember, he did win 2 in HBCU.
Mm-hmm. He did. But I like J.R. Smith, man. J.R. Smith was he, like I said, when it was time to concentrate, he concentrated and he knuckled down. And he was an asset to that Cleveland team. And guess what? He was a Sixth Man of the Year in New York for a reason. He was an asset to that team. Like I said, when you're in New York, you're going to get criticized a hell of a lot more than you should because of, it's New York. New York is one of those places that, if I was an athlete, because of how hard the media was, I don't think I would want to play there. Beautiful city, beautiful place to party, beautiful place to be at. But as far as the media goes, as being a sports star, if I would have been a sports star, I'm like, nah, I can't play in here. That's too much. It's like 20 pounds of gravity just weighing on you every single day. Because if you do so much as wipe your feet sideways, they're going to talk to you about it. They're going to talk about it in the paper in New York. But as far as J.R. Smith, man, I got to put him as a tweener, man. He didn't do anything just heinous for you to just want to hate him. But, but at the same time, a lot of them antics, untying folks' shoes, pouring beer on folks at the bar, after winning the championships, certain stuff that came out in the media about his life, his personal life, people are going to bark on that. But J.R. Smith, man, I like J.R. Smith, man.
BRF.
Definitely a tweener. I gotta agree. As an avid supporter of the 2015 Atlanta Hawks that won 60 games, I will forever not like J.R. Smith for remembering that he was a really good 3-point shooter and just lighting us up in Phillips and just lighting them up in Phillips Arena, lighting them up. Like he threw it up, it went. It felt like he threw it up, it went in, and I'm just like, bro, why you act like you could shoot now? Like why now? And just like that was like What Cleveland did to Atlanta in that series was just a dog walk. Just was a flat out dog walk. And he was definitely part of that reason. But yeah, he definitely like this. Besides all the antics and all that stuff, I feel like this century, he's definitely one of the better six men this side of Jamal Crawford and Manu Ginobili. Definitely one of the better six men we've seen as far as like his ability, like. And what I mean by that is, even though he's a six man and he's coming off the bench, it's almost like he's a six starter. It's almost like he's the sixth starter. Like he could go out there, he could if you need him to go out and get you 30 minutes, he could get you 30 minutes. If you need him to go out and take over a game shooting the ball, he could do that. And prime J.R. Smith in Denver was one of the sickest athletes you are ever going to see. You are ever going to see. So but yeah, a lot of the antics definitely do make it between them. Like Champ definitely brought up him on time to do shoot at the free throw line. I mean, he definitely. I mean, you can't not talk about J.R. Smith's antics and not talk about that moment. And then of course, game one, NBA Finals, Cleveland Golden State. The horrible play. And yeah, exactly. That picture of him, that picture of LeBron, like just that picture of LeBron James, like almost like what are you doing face? Like that is going to live like in infamy. That's going to be a steal in time. Like
apparently
if you,
he was hot that night.
Boy, man, let me tell you something. There's another still shot of him. Like after that moment, if you look at his face, his eyes are like he could barely see. Like his eyes were like you could barely see. I believe you were blown. I believe you were blown that night because I tell you what, the look you had, them eyes was just like. I want to say like, bro, can you see what you do? Can you see? but. But yeah, but no, he's a. I have to give him a. I'm gonna. J.R. Smith's a tweener. J.R. Smith is a tweener, but it's like, but yeah, like champ, yeah, like the anti-hero style, like yeah, just like you wanna. It's like even when you want to root against him, you can't. You can't because he's gonna do something that's kind of gonna reel you in, whether it's a funny moment. Or whether it's a clutch three, or he's dunking in somebody's face, because J.R. Smith, for what it's worth, got a highlight reel of dunks in his career a mile long. So we definitely got to pay dues to that man and get that man respect. Like I said, this century, he's definitely one of the best six men this side of Jamal Crawford and Manu Ginobili. If you're gonna rank like greatest six men of all time or greatest six men of the 21st century. I think J.R. Smith has to be in your top five as far as greatest six men of the 21st century. He's got to be in your top five.
I agree. I mean, he's got to be a tweener because of the antics, but at the same time, he brought some excitement. JR can hit long distance shots. JR can dunk though. And on top of that, he could be a contributor from time to time, especially when it came to big shots, big situations. He could hit big shots. The thing I liked with JR, he was not afraid. He had no conscience. I mean, sometimes he will do some dumb shit though, but at the same time, though, he will find. But at the same time, hey. But before we move on to the next subject, guys, real quick, what are your thoughts about Damian Lillard going to Portland? Back to Portland.
Is it crazy for me to say when you really think about it, he should have never left?
Honestly,
he should have never left, in my opinion. But I mean,
he wanted a championship. I don't blame him. But that's just Portland saying thank you, Damian, because they know he's not probably going to play this year.
And yeah, he's not.
And he's in the latter part of his career. They're probably going to be playing the younger. This is just thank you for being as loyal as you did.
Exactly.
For so many years.
Exactly.
Even after we lost LaMarcus Aldridge and some of the key players that we lost, you still was able to get us to the playoffs, beat Oklahoma City, at least make it to the second round a few times, and
got us to the conference finals once.
Yes, and you didn't hesitate in order to say that you didn't want to go anywhere. And you stuck it out as long as you could. And you were loyal. And Portland, like I said, Portland is a great great basketball town. The late great Bill Walton spoke highly of it. But unfortunately, it's not a glamour town. It's not Miami. It's not Chicago, not New York, not Los Angeles, not Houston. You're not going to be able to attract a lot of free agent guys in order to get you to come and play in Portland. Although Beaverton is right up the street. Nike Town's right up the road from it. But yeah, unfortunately, you're not going to make that attraction in order to, get those great players that you need on your team. And I think after LaMarcus Aldridge left, that was kind of the beginning of the end. And then slowly but surely, guys start leaving. CJ McCollum end up leaving eventually. And,
And he gave them some excitement, Champ, because remember, before LaMarcus Aldridge, Brandon Roy had not been for so many injuries. Brandon Roy was a damn good player, had not been for injuries. And Damian Lillard did the
Could you imagine that team that could have been constructed had Brandon Roy had to stay healthy? Oh, my gosh.
The most cursed franchise in NBA history traded Moses Malone and kept Bill Walton. 1 year after they traded Moses Malone. Moses Malone ends up going to Houston, going to an NBA Finals, and then ends up later on going to the Finals and winning as part of that duo with him and Julius Erving.
And not to mention, before they were named the Portland Jailblazers because a lot of those players had a lot of off the court situations. Ruben Patterson.
Yeah, and then they had those same teams, those Jailblazer teams in the early 2000s, and then on top of that, them losing the Game 7 against my Los Angeles Lakers, the whole Sam Bowie situation, Sam Bowie over Jordan. What's so funny about that is people don't understand this. They were not supposed to draft Sam Bowie. What they were doing is they were going to Georgetown and they were trying to convince Patrick Ewing to come out of college. And they were trying to influence him to come on out so him, Clyde, and Jim Paxson could team up. Had they got him had they convinced him to come out rather than him staying, because Patrick Ewing promised his mother that he was going to graduate from Georgetown. Hoya paranoia, by the way. Had they convinced him and talked to his mom about it and everything like that, and they convinced him to come out, Portland would have probably been writing a different story. But, not to mention, losing two finals to two of the greatest teams, arguably of all time, losing one to the bad boy Pistons, then turning right around and then losing one to
Chicago.
Michael Jordan. Curses. Then not to mention Greg Oden, Brandon Roy. Then on top of that, LaMarcus Aldridge leaves and goes to San Antonio, has some good years there. And the last two left is CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard. And they just didn't have enough onslaught in order to get past the Golden State Warriors and some of those stacked teams in the West. There was a lot of curses when it comes to that franchise. And for them to be a great basketball town and for them not to have a championship since 1977 when they beat Julius Erving and Chocolate Thunder, Daryl Dawkins, and for them not to have a championship for that great basketball, they're the Cleveland Browns of the league. I know people look at the Cleveland Cavaliers, but when you think about a good basketball town, the Trailblazers, Portland is one of those towns that you just got to be there in order to see it, because that's a hell of a basketball town. Bill Walton, the late great one, spoke very highly of it.
I'm happy for Dame, even though he may not win a championship, and Portland is in the reclamation process, but he's going back home, even though he's from Oakland, California. but he's back to where he started. He loves it there. He's familiar with Portland. Portland loves him. So he'll give them some relevancy. And he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. There's no question about that.
Absolutely.
All right, favorite Umaga moment. The match between him and Cena at the Royal Rumble, the last man standing match. JR's commentary when Cena puts Umaga on that STF submission move. And then Jim Ross is yelling, "Look at Cena's face. Look at his face." I mean, it was intense. It was brutal. I always loved the thumb signature move that he had. I love that match. And then, of course, him and Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania with Stone Cold Steve Austin as the special guest referee, the Battle of the Billionaires between McMahon or Trump. Whoever lost the match would have their head shaved. And Umaga, exciting cat, man. For a guy that size, he can move. He may not wow you with the mic skills and all, but his presence, his size, his physicality, his dominance, that's like what wows you. That's like what drives you about Umaga. Gone way too soon, man. He was definitely an excellent wrestler, fun to watch, man. I mean, him back in the 2000s, man, we had some really good wrestling. There was him, Cena, of course, the great Khali, the ruthless aggression era at that time, the physicality with some of the wrestlers back then, BRF and Champ. That was fun to watch, though.
Yes.
So, got to give big ups to Umaga. Whoever wants to go first.
I'll take this one.
All right.
My favorite moment was before he even became Umaga. Is when he was with his cousin Rosie. I think that was his cousin. And I used to love hearing Eric Bischoff. Wait a minute. Did I just hear myself say 3 minutes? And them dudes used to come in that ring and wreck shop until they met Goldberg. Until they met Goldberg. And Goldberg taught them to take us through that day. It's kind of like the captain of the football team beating up the schoolyard bullies. That was a good moment. Umaga, when he first got introduced, Mr. Estrada beating Kane when Kane was still a monster. 2 Samoan spikes. When you beat Kane back then, you did something. Because Kane didn't lose a lot. Neither did his brother, The Undertaker. So beating Kane before he even became Umaga. And let's not forget that very, very funny segment between him and the great Khali. That was memorable. That remember when him, Khali, and Shane was supposed to be in that tag match, and the great Khali, and they had this long and drawn out little promo, and everybody looking around, nobody knew what the hell they were saying. So, oh man, that was memorable, man. Gone too soon, man. What I would have loved to have seen is Umaga be Roman Reigns' enforcer rather than Solo.
That's interesting.
Because Umaga was dangerous. Where Solo, it was more, you look dangerous, but okay. But if he would have had Umaga to just, you got to go through me, you got to go through him in order, that's not an easy task. That's a half a year's worth of feuding. And when you unleash a monster like Umaga on someone, remember, Vince McMahon unleashed Umaga on Triple H, and it took a sledgehammer in order to take him down. So, I would have loved to have seen what he could have did in the Bloodline versus Solo Sikoa. Solo is good, can't take anything away from gloves, what Flash like to call them, with the OJ gloves on all the time. But Can't take nothing away from him, but I think Umaga would have been a better enforcer for Roman Reigns than Solo was. Solo, like I said, Solo looks dangerous, but it's like he hasn't evolved. Umaga was a pure heel to the core. Came out. I remember one time he came out and destroyed Mick Foley. I remember he came out and he destroyed one of the WWE divas. And it took a lot to bring him down. It took the undisputed hero, John Cena, in order to bring him down. When he was a part of 3 Minute Warning before he became Umaga, it took the ultimate hero, Goldberg, in order to take down 3 Minute Warning. When he was the monster heel at WrestleMania, it took the ultimate superhero in Bobby Lashley in order to take him down. That's what defines a heel, in my humble opinion, in wrestling. It takes the ultimate hero in order to bring you down. Even with a bad guy like Kane, who is monstrous, he can't even take you down. It takes Superman in order to bring you down when you're doomsday. Not even Lex Luthor or Grodd can stop you. That's what a heel is about. And that's why I love Umaga. Rest in peace, brother.
DRF?
Umaga moment. You know what? There's one. A lot of the really great Umaga moments weren't always necessarily him winning, but he was just such a dominant force. It took these Herculean moments to really beat him. Like the Extreme Rules match he had with Jeff Hardy, where Jeff Hardy did the swanton off the top of the truck. It took moments like that to beat Umaga, or gosh, what else? Yeah, it was the I'll definitely go back to the last man standing match, but it was the moment. It was the STF, and then John Cena took the ropes and just went around his neck, and just the moment was just it's almost like it. This is why I love the Umaga character, because it's when he lost, it wasn't no surprise roll up. It wasn't no sneaky pin. The person that beat him really put him in the ground. It really took that to beat him. And that's why I really like the Umaga character, and I just hate it. I feel like he's one of the better wrestlers that have came through that never was a world champion. I thought he was a world champion. I thought it was just a matter of time, but they never held the WWE title, which I think was unfortunate, because I definitely think he was worthy to be a WWE champion. Yeah, definitely he had a lot of good 3 Minute Warning moments. The moment, which one in particular? Gosh. Yeah, you definitely brought up the Umaga moment where he just, oh Lord, poor Maria. Oh my gosh, what he did that woman, where they were still it was still TV 14, and they weren't shying away from the guys beating up the women. If it sold a story, man, what he did to her was just, ooh, that was cruel and unusual punishment, what he did to her. And then it was I think it was that one moment where gosh, I'm gonna try to keep it as PG as possible. But Eric Bischoff used to have his certain moments. He liked women, and he had his little skits, his little moments with certain women, and he had brought a couple of them out, and then he brought Jamal and Rosie out, and he threw one of those girls so high in the air and gave her a Samoan drop. I thought he literally was I thought he was literally trying to put her through the ring mat. That was one of the wildest, craziest things I've ever seen. But yeah, I'm trying. Yeah, but it just, but the Umaga character was just so, you could tell, I really felt like a world championship was gonna come. Yeah, like it was the Jeff Hardy Extreme Rules match, the match, like the no DQ match he had with Triple H. Just taking a sledgehammer to beat him. Another moment, it was when WWE had like kind of made ECW the third brand. It was WWE ECW, and it was after a cage match. It was Bobby Lashley versus Hardcore Holly, and Bobby Lashley won the match. So they were building up Umaga and Lashley. I think this was on the road. This was like the WrestleMania build, or it was starting to really heat up. So Bobby Lashley, being the genetic animal he was, well, really always been, but even more so then, Umaga's standing outside of the steel cage and he's talking in his language, but he's just talking. He's mad and he's going. So Bobby Lashley decides to run to the rope, bounce off the rope, jumps through the cage wall, literally throws the cage wall down on Umaga, and the show ended that way. And I'm just like, I remember watching that, and I'm just like, did they really let this man jump through a cage wall on TV and throw it on another man? Like, just some of the just insane stuff that I think, yeah, like I feel like in terms of wrestling and action, like the ruthless aggression era, I feel in terms of wrestling is like an unmatched era. Whereas with the attitude era was like storylines and building up stories, the ruthless aggression era and even late ruthless aggression before it went to the PG era was just wrestling, action, action, action. So yeah, definitely definitely shout out to Umaga. Yeah, he definitely gone too soon. I just hated he never got a shot to win a a WWE championship, because I definitely think he was well on his way.
I agree. Last but not least, folks, favorite Aaliyah track. I'm gonna go first. Two are my favorite. One in a Million. I loved how the way Aaliyah collaborated with Missy Elliott and Timbaland. And even though this one, it was the music video that unfortunately led to her death at the age of 22, Rock the Boat. I love the music video, her song, her voice. Just listening to her sing is just beautiful. And then Let Me Know. So I love that about Aaliyah. I love her dancing ability. Gone way too soon. Definitely a prodigy when she was a teenager. But I listen to Rock the Boat before I go to work. If I feel like I'm not gonna have a good day at work or whatever, I listen to that song. That's like a peaceful, calm, relaxing song. Makes you feel like you're in paradise. There's some songs that you feel like you want to listen to that makes you feel like you're in paradise, and Rock the Boat is definitely one. And just a beautiful, beautiful person. Gone way too soon, man. BRF.
Oh man. Talk about one of my favorite artists of all time. Aaliyah is definitely one of my favorites of all time. Um, my favorite all time track from her is easily One in a Million, because I still think to this day is one of the greatest beats ever made. R&B, hip hop. One in a Million is one of the greatest beats ever made, and her lyrics attached to that song is like my all time favorite Aaliyah song. Like if I had a time capsule, and I wanted to just put a bunch of songs in there that I'm just gonna take with me from now to the end of time, I'm taking that song with me. But there's 4-page letter. There's I Care for You. Uh, Come Over. What else? We Need a Resolution. Um, gosh. Age ain't nothing but a number. I mean, the circumstances behind that song ain't the greatest, but you ain't gonna tell me that song didn't hit.
Back and
The
forth.
circumstances, yeah, most definitely back and forth. The song that pretty much put on the map. Of course, I love that song. Gosh, what else is there? There's so much more. Trying to think what else. At
Like
Your
Carter.
Best. Definitely Hot Like Fire, but At Your Best. I love At Your Best. At Your Best. That's a great song. Great song.
Try Again.
So many. Most definitely. Oh, I got a visitor. Yeah. Oh, try. Oh, man. Romeo Must Die is one of my favorite movies. So, of course, Try Again is definitely one of my favorite tracks. So, most definitely that. But yeah, one song, my favorite all time song is definitely One in a Million. And it's just. Well, what do you want me to? What do you want? Well, what do you want me to do about it, honey? All right, just hold on. I'm almost finished. I promise. Put the desert in there. I'm not putting a desert in there, girl. Wait until I'm done. Put winter and put Antarctica and then put the desert. Okay. But I want the desert. Okay. Really gets the winters. Okay. Do you have a heater? You talking? I'm trying to finish the show. Hold on. Okay.
I understand. No problem with that.
Lord, but honestly though, I am finished. But yeah, One in a Million is definitely my favorite track by her. But there's too many that I like from her that is just there's too many to name.
Talk to me, champ.
Hot Like Fire, man. Especially the remix, the Timberland remix. When you had Missy Elliott on the hook saying, "I'm gonna make it hot like fire, hot, hot." Oh man, Aaliyah. Oh man, this one hits home because you don't realize how close in age you were to these young people until you get a little bit older. I was only like she was only like 22 when she died, 24 maybe.
22.
I was 2001.
Yeah.
I was 14 years old. So you really wasn't too far behind these young guys. These young men and these young women. Tupac was 24 when he passed away. Biggie was not that. I was only a few years behind these guys. So you don't realize how young these guys really, really were until you get up in age and be like, damn, I've outlived every last one of these guys. They were born before me. But Aaliyah was definitely an icon, man. I believe today, and this is not, and people always call me crazy, but I believe her and Beyonce would have been neck and neck as far as being that big icon. And if you really want me to be honest with you, Aaliyah was on the fast track in order to be that icon. She was already on the silver screen. She was already in Romeo Must Die. She was already on Queen of the Damned. She was in the process of making that movie. One of her biggest tracks was on a movie soundtrack, Try Again. Try Again was her biggest track ever. I mean, Aaliyah was that big. I mean, it's unfortunate. When you think about Aaliyah's death back in 2001, it's just almost simultaneously. Her death was so tragic, and then weeks later, we have the biggest tragedy in U.S. history. It was just such a heart-wrenching situation for that. I mean, I wish that we could have gotten the chance to see her peak because I truly believe it would have been her and Beyonce neck and neck. I believe that she would have been selling out the same way that Beyonce is selling out arenas right about now, and Leah would have been selling out arenas just as well. I truly believe that because, like I said, she was an icon during her time at a young age. When you crossed over to Hollywood like that at a very, very young, I mean, she was called Romeo. Do you know how big of an actor that Jet Li was?
And before, let's not forget the hip hop style that she wore.
Yes. The songs that she made with DMX, One Key. I mean, the Tommy Hilfiger. She made girls want to wear the top Tommy Hilfiger stuff. And the thing you liked about her, she had that around the way girl feel to her. It wasn't so much. She wasn't so big of an icon that she was untouchable at a certain point. So, man, Aaliyah, man, rest in peace. You were a big part of my childhood and a big part of my adulthood. I loved Rock the Boat. I loved Hot Like Fire. I love 4-Page Letter. I love I'm So Into You. I love I Don't Want to Be Without You. I actually wrote a girl that whole song in a letter when I was like 18 years old. So it didn't work, but I still wrote it. But that was Aaliyah, your name alone brings a smile to my face. And it's hearing your name and saying your name, it's radiant, it's beautiful. And man, thank you. You were definitely, we talk about going too soon. At 22 years old, we got to think about that age. At 22 years old, I was on my fourth year of enlistment in the Army. That's how young that I was. I had not even been in the Army for 5 full years. I wasn't even that deep into my 20s yet. I was still playing video games at that age. I was still trying to go to arcades during that age. I still haven't matured into a grown man as of yet. That's how young that really is. When you put that into perspective and you realize how young that really was. And I'm just glad that your music lives on. I'm glad that your songs are back on Tidal and Apple Music so that we can listen to it. And we are reminded every day about how beautiful you were. I salute you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And next week for the Sports PSP pod, favorite Missy Elliott track.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
But BRF, I know you gotta go because I know your daughter wants to spend some time with you. But any final words?
Her butt need to go to bed, but that's neither here nor there. But no, it's always a pleasure to get on here with you brothers, man. I kind of hated I wasn't on here like I wanted to be because I got a 10-year-old to deal with, but hey, it's okay. Linktree is in the bio. Always BRF Sports is the TikTok handle. Linktree is in the bio. Follow my IG, my Twitter /X. I got a Facebook page, and I also have a Discord. So if you're new to Discord or if you want to hop on the Discord, I have an open link in my Linktree. Feel free to click it and join up. Be more than happy to chop it up with you because that's what we do at the end of the day. We love talking sports. We love having fun talking sports, and we also love meeting new people and welcoming new people in. So this is what we're about at the end of the day. Shout out to PSP. I think he's over 120K doing his thing. Shout out to Champ, continually putting out amazing content, amazing videos, educating the masses. Champ's always educating the masses as far as putting this content out, putting this video out. So shout out to both of you brothers, and I'm getting back into the swing of things slowly but surely. I got a few ideas coming up. I'm going to try to start posting, try to get my views back up, trying to get myself back out there in the content scene. So definitely much love to both of y'all. It's always a pleasure to hop on here. And as like I always say, a topic not thought about is a topic not talked about.
Undisputed World Champ.
Number one, thank you, PSP. Thank you for inviting me all the time. Like I tell everybody at the end of every show, it's an act. It's, like I said, it's an act. I love to make the people laugh, bring you joy for the podcast. And so thank you for inviting me on every single week, man. It's kind of like coming to somebody's house and they keep inviting you in order to play Mario Kart. Only difference is we're talking about sports. Thank you to the people out there who'd like to subscribe. Tune in this coming Monday. We have a very, very special show on the Undisputed GOAT podcast. And I will say something. Always remember that we the goats, not the sheep.
Absolutely. Shout out to a lot of great people out there. in Jersey. Shout out to the great Mama PSP. Shout out to my girl Angie. Shout out to my beautiful sister D. Love, love myself some D. Shout out to Jennifer Lazarus. Like I always said, she was my former college professor, kind of like a mom to me. She was the one who introduced me to social media, taught me so much about the game of social media, and helped me encourage me to inspire my dreams with podcasting. Everyone, please enjoy the rest of the weekend. Please stay safe. Just be with friends. Just be with family. Please drink responsible. Have a good time. Go to a water park. Go to play basketball. Go to the park. Just be around family. Just enjoy the rest of the summer because sooner or later, back to school. Y'all got to do some back to school shopping. And of course, pigskin season is almost coming. And also, too, check play some of that NCAA football 26. I know I'm about to be playing it tomorrow, so I'm definitely going to be playing it. Oh, and by the way, Road to Glory, can you add some more positions? Add the defensive lineman, add the defensive tackle, add some other offensive linemen. Champ would love to play the offensive lineman position on Road to Glory. But fellas, we is out. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all weekend. Be safe and peace. That was good, man. That was good.